Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show today. Happy days. Hopefully everybody's doing really well, and you had yourselves a good weekend. Mine was okay. I went to go have Peking duck, and I wish I told you guys about last week. I was very excited. It was super tasty, but it was not Peking duck. So the
Mm,
search continues. Oh well.
mm.
But nevertheless, it was tasty though, and that's always good. I got a new bag.
A new bag.
I did, and I didn't mean that in the American way. I meant that in a legitimately, straightforward way. Because I bought myself that new Asus Flow, right?
Yeah.
It's a tablet slash, well, it's a laptop slash tablet thing, but it was just too big for the bag I use, so I had to go buy a new one. But actually, I like the new one better, even though it's cheaper. It was half the price. I only spent $200 on it, so it's not so good quality, but I like it better though. It sits better. Now, that's one thing here in Japan, though, Thunder, I can do that you're not allowed to do because it would make you a woman's. I can
That's
actually
correct.
carry a haversack about with all my
Yeah.
stuff in it and not worry about it because Japanese don't care about cool.
Well, men came up with a solution to that.
Yeah.
If we need to carry such things, we use a backpack. Backpacks are allowed. You
Yeah,
see,
see, but
backpacks are allowed.
backpacks are lame
Yes. Well,
and
that's
they're
why
for
you do the
children.
Zach Morris, and you just one shoulder it. You see, and then you look cooler.
Oh, well,
That's how.
okay. That there is that is a cop out. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, but no, over here and most other places in the world, a man can you can carry haversack. Obviously, there are bags that are feminine, that make you look effeminate. Obviously,
Yep.
but there, if you haversacks are good, you can do a haversack,
You know what
right?
we should bring back in America, unironically, but make them for utility, is bandoliers.
Bandoliers.
It's out there now.
Yeah,
The bandolier
yeah.
is traditional cool. You wearing
No,
a
it is.
bandolier, you're either an actual bandit or you're cool.
Or you're cool. Yeah, or
That's
you're
the
Clint
rule.
Eastwood, and that's always cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So we should bring back the bandolier, make it like a Batman utility belt, but a bandolier,
Right.
and there you go. Now you can carry your things because it's a Batman style utility belt. So it's basically a TARDIS, and it's just endless. It's just
That's true.
bottomless.
That is true. And then of course you also got the life field going on as well.
Yeah,
And that's
that's right.
always cool, he says with a wink and two air quotes in the air. You know. But anyway, happy to have you guys here. Did you do anything interesting this weekend?
No, I had a very nice, boring weekend.
Oh, that's good.
Yesterday we drove around a little bit. Went to some stores, took my wife and and her friend, my cousin, out, and they just went shopping and bought some things and here or there, and then came back to my house. They hung out and watched some show,
Uh-huh.
and I was just in here playing video games and writing. Um, and then today I was gonna do all sorts of things,
Uh-huh.
but I woke up and I said, "Nah, not today.
Not today.
Today's gonna be another nice rest day. Nice rest day."
Oh yeah.
And I pretty much just hung out.
Oh, that's
It's
good.
great.
Yeah, today's a
Nice hangout
holiday in
day.
Japan.
I needed I needed to well, not for me, I could give two shits. But I needed to de-stress. I had a week, Chester. I had a week
Yeah,
that was just I was it was one of those times. I know you don't experience this because you're not a human being, you're basically an android man.
that's true.
But normal human beings will have these times where they're just not having a good week. Whatever it is, emotionally, they're either depressed or they're angry or they're some way in a negative zone
I piss
mentally
it
and
out.
emotionally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was in one of those weeks,
I
and
see.
wrestling wasn't helping. Wrestling really is, I think, the thing that pushed me over the edge. But it looks like the wrestling
No,
gods
no,
on
no, no, no,
high
no.
in the
You save
WWE.
that.
We'll talk about it.
We'll
We'll
talk
talk about
about
it.
it.
But it looks like they have smiled upon us, and we shall see
Mhm.
what happens going forward. Uh, that helped pull me out of that funk, and I worked out a little bit and stuff, and that
Oh,
got me
that
in.
helps.
You know, you gotta
Working out
you gotta
helps.
get
Yeah,
that those hormones back under control. You see,
yeah,
because sometimes they get a little loopy, a little
yeah,
wacky,
yeah.
and you gotta hit the weights and hit some push-ups. Like on Monday,
I throw
Adrian and
dynamite
I
around.
Adrian and I, yes. Adrian and I usually work out on Mondays together, and then sometimes our wives come, and then on Thursdays it's all of us. We'll do like a big workout session at my wife's office gym that she has, and because it's free, so why not? Um, and on Monday he could, if he's in the chat, he can confirm this. And nothing was heavy because I was angry. You see, when you get angry, Chess, when you get genuinely not rage, people misunderstand. They
No,
think when I
rage
say I
is
get angry, I'm
yeah,
I'm a different, like, rage is like you're screaming, you're rah! No.
yeah.
When you're
That's emotion.
actually angry, when it's boiling,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're not even emotional, but you're angry,
Oh yeah.
then I get freakishly strong. I don't know how to explain it, but I do. I was doing push-ups like they were nothing. I could have done one arms. I was just flying. It was
It's called
crazy. Even he said,
adrenaline.
"Wow." He was like, but I didn't have any reason to have adrenaline. I hadn't done anything to get adrenaline. I was just in that mental frame where it was not the day to mess with me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
those
I
weights were
know.
messing with me by being around me and making me want to lift them. And it was awesome. It was a great workout. I felt way better after it,
Oh yeah.
but it was just phenomenal to watch as I was just like, in the movie Unbreakable. What's the name? No, that's not. Yeah, Unbreakable with
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, where
Yeah, yeah.
he's pushing up the weights and he just keeps going, and he's like, "What the? I never went this far before." That's what it was like. There was just like no limit. There was no bottom here,
Hmm.
or no top, I guess. It was just
Sore as shit the day after, though. I bet.
and no, I was all right actually. I was actually all right. It's just because in my family, the men in my family on the my father's side, with that nice long Austrian Swiss name that I
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, yeah.
they have what I always call too lovingly a berserker rage.
Hmm.
And every one of us has it, and we all try to avoid it because it's like blackout anger. And I was right at the edge of blackout anger. And when you get there, all that adrenaline and all those hormones, you're just stronger.
Yeah, yeah.
You just are. There's
You
no
got
doubt
that
about it. And
Aryan
that's
pack
where I
as
was.
well, which helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That spinal column, you know.
Yes. Yeah. That's where I was most of the week. I was just in this like this headspace for various reasons, many of them personal, I'm not going to get into. But part of it was pro wrestling. And the reason being isn't so much because wrestling is, so important to me. It really isn't that important to me, but it's one of the things that is important to me culturally. It's one of the only things that the left hasn't completely ruined in the last decade or so. And it was just like we've been doing this show for what, 5 years now,
Hmm.
give or take.
Yep.
In that time, have we gotten one back yet that they've taken from us,
No,
that they've ruined
no,
intentionally? We've
no.
never gotten one back. So I was sitting there, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to lose another one to stupid ego. Because the reality of it is, it's not even necessarily politics that's the issue. You can put politics and stuff, like Star Trek. I use that example all the time. There's all sorts of politics in Star Trek, but it wasn't being pushed because of ego. It wasn't happening because of agendas. It was just people telling stories.
Yeah.
In the last few years, it's been more about the agenda and far, 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 far less
Oh,
about
well,
stories.
it is
And we've seen it.
the
And we've seen it over and
message.
over, from Star Wars to Star Trek to Marvel to DC to Indiana Jones to everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. Everything I grew up loving, everything you
He-Man,
grew up loving.
of all
He
things.
Man! For crying out loud. The Doctor Who! Everything!
And
They
Doctor
didn't
Who.
leave one. They've only got one they haven't got.
He's always
Of an
been,
American.
not
What's he
sexual at
always been?
all, right?
That's correct. There's only one thing that is as American as apple pie. That's, if it wasn't, baseball wasn't older, I think it would be considered the American pastime, and that's pro wrestling.
Hmm.
It don't get much more of an institution in America than pro wrestling, and it was the only one that they hadn't ruined yet.
I don't know about that,
And
but I'll take. I
well,
get you. I get your point. I saw a
my
lot of
point
chicks in
is,
that roster. I tell you what.
well, yeah, but they've been doing that for a long time. My point is,
Hmm.
I didn't want them to get another scalp. And not even necessarily the leftists, just people with these ridiculous agendas who are going to. Here's the problem: it's not that they're putting lefty politics and stuff. We can ignore that. It's their attitude to the backlash. That's the problem. The entitled talking down to me like I'm a fucking serf bullshit
Oh yeah.
is the problem. That's what pisses us off is when we say, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing," and they start calling you a name. Like, who the fuck do you think you are talking to me like that? You're lucky we lived in a more civilized time because I can assure you, a couple hundred years ago, you came to some people like me saying that kind of stuff. It wouldn't end well for you.
No.
But they get away with it now because one, we have the internet to make there be space for us to communicate, and two, because we have different laws than we used to have. But that was really the issue.
Yeah.
That's really the reason why I think most of us get so upset about this stuff. It's not that they're doing something stupid with, say, Spider-Man. They've
Right.
done many things stupid with
Oh
Spider-Man.
God,
We've
yeah.
all seen them. We've all mocked them.
Many
We've all
times.
said, "What are you
Yeah.
doing? This is
True.
stupid." But it's
True.
the attitude around our criticism that's the problem. We are allowed, we are permitted, in fact, we should be encouraged to
Uh,
criticize the things that we love when they are going astray.
Not
If we
according to
didn't love
George
them,
R. Martin, though.
yeah, if we didn't love them, we wouldn't criticize them. We wouldn't care.
That's
But we
true.
do love them. That's why we get
Yeah.
so upset about it. And the
Well,
fact that so many of these big companies, so many of these creators, quote unquote, have had this entitled bullshit arrogance as if they're special and they matter, as if they deserve more consideration than us, the people who, pay for their shit. Um, that sort of stuff, I think, is really what pisses people off far more than the individual political injections,
oh
right?
no, I
Because you
think
can
so.
ignore that. You can ignore the political injections very easily if what you're watching is otherwise decent, and there's humility from the people putting it out. There's
Well,
a sense
yeah.
of service from the
Well,
people putting
sure,
it
but
out.
because they're mocking you smugly, and then when you
Yes,
respond to the mock, they they once again mock you smugly.
that's right.
Yeah, so
That's
you
right.
get nothing but smug mocking, no matter what you look
Yeah,
at. Um,
condescension all the way
Condens
down.
yeah, it's not condensation though. That's
I
a
almost
different
said
issue.
condensation.
Uh, I'm doing well, Roger. Thank you very much. I feel good. I
But
usually feel pretty
anyway,
good.
all that rant being said, I feel a lot better this week.
All right,
Last week, I
Roger.
wasn't intending to hijack the show with wrestling stuff.
That's
I just
okay.
started talking about it, and people just started coming in talking about it too because it was a real big. It was just the wrong. It was the right moment at the wrong time, if that makes sense, right? It
Right.
was just a hot issue, and everybody just kind of they had their opinions, if
Yeah,
you
sure.
will.
Oh
Yeah,
no, no, I have
but
no
no,
doubt.
I'm
You know,
doing.
I'll talk about
That's
wrestling
the answer
anytime.
to your question. I'm doing a much better this week than I was last week. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Roger's trying to ask me a question. I don't know what it's going to be. It's probably going to be about Taiwan. But I guess I haven't spoken about China in a while. I can give a little bit of a report if you guys would like. Um,
Let's hear it.
you know, China is in full economic collapse. They're they're constantly having to shut down their stock market and force this or push that to try to hide things or basically say no, our money does have value and because we say so. But you're seeing huge numbers of foreign companies have left China. It continues. We're seeing entire sectors collapse. We're seeing a lot of pushback about against the CCP, of course, which means a lot of arrests and a lot of people disappearing. And the recent problems, just I mean, I could go on and on, but just here this past week, there are two major issues that have popped up with the CCP, other than all the economic collapse. One of those is every lunar New Year, which because keep in mind that there are two different kinds of calendars, guys. There is a solar calendar, which is your little, you know, little one on your wall, probably, and you got a lunar calendar, which hardly anyone uses anymore, other than say fishermen. But of course, many Asian countries use the lunar calendar as well, and we have the lunar New Year. In China, many countries do it. It's not just China, but in China, though, it is absolute tradition to go home. But the problem is, in the past decade or so, China has grown at such a rapid rate, and they've tried to force everyone out of the countryside into the cities so that they look how awesome we are. Because you got to understand, in China, it's all about what it looks like, not what it is, right? They care way more about the image than the actual reality. So you have all these people in the cities, and of course, in the Lunar New Year, they have to travel back to their villages in the countryside, the western part of China. Well, you're talking like a billion people moving. That's a lot.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's a
Uh,
lot of
eh,
folk.
yeah, it's a lot of people, and it's always a nightmare. But just logistically. But this year they've had a lot of. There's been a very cold winter here in Asia. Global warming and all. And of course, because of that, they've had a lot of ice and snow deeper than they usually get. So we have people who have been stuck in traffic that hasn't moved for the past 5 days.
Excellent.
Did you hear what I said?
Excellent.
Hundreds
Oh,
of
I heard it.
miles of traffic that has not moved in 5 days. It's bitter
Excellent.
cold, snow everywhere. The little people in the villages along the road are coming up and selling exorbitantly hot water and noodles. Good for them. So Chinese.
Capitalism.
Well, no, because one thing about Chinese, it's probably the most disturbing of any culture here in Asia. Chinese people, if you're not family, you're nothing. They
Yep.
literally watch you die on the street if you're not family. This is one of the uglier parts of Chinese culture, and this isn't a CCP issue. That's a Chinese culture issue, right? So you have that problem going on, and it's a very very serious one. But whilst there are literally people dying on the roads in China, by who knows how many are going to die out of this situation, China is pushing back against Western racism, the racism of the West, right?
Yep.
And of course, like I said, this is the Lunar New Year. Some people call it Chinese New Year. That's fine, but it's not just China, right? It's many many countries. But whatever. They don't like it. You're not supposed to call it anything other than the Chinese New Year only, right? And of course, that baddie down in Hong Kong and Taiwan, they both put out, many other places around the world, put out welcoming wishes for the Lunar New Year, as politicians do, right? Have
Hmm.
a happy Lunar New Year. The year of the dragon is what this is, and et cetera, et cetera. But China didn't like it. It's either the Chinese New Year only, or it's the year of the long, right, which would be the Chinese word for dragon. Uh, but
Hmm.
but it's not that simple because they don't they put a lot of the Chinese government puts out a lot of political cartoons like we used to, right? They still do
Hmm.
that, and they're nasty, nasty racist mean, right? As is it's their wolf warrior politics you see with the Chinese.
Mm.
They think they have to be aggressive, and that's why you'll see like Chinese leaders saying, fuck you, whitey. That you'll literally see them say shit like that, right? Because
Hmm.
it's their wolf warrior politics. They think being aggressive is the way to deal with the world, right? And they put out these horrible cartoons, and they've been doing the same thing here past week or so. And they're literally saying that the Western dragon is a evil, horrible thing, and we don't want any association with our beautiful dragon here in the East. Therefore, we're not going to call it the year of the Long, which is how you say dragon. We're going to call it the year of the Lung, because it's not a dragon; it's a special thing. And it's the stupidest
Oh
thing
Lord.
ever because, well, you have a word in Chinese for dragon, and it's called long. It's not
Yep.
lung, right? But they're doing it because they don't want to be associated with a horrible, evil, horrible Western thing. Okay. And it's like, well, there are some
Yeah.
bad dragons in the West, but there are also, good ones.
Right.
But they're unaware of that. And as I've told you before, the celestial dragon here in Asia is not an actual dragon. It's a representation of heaven. It's not a thing. Whereas the Western dragon is a creature, right?
Right.
So,
A
but
being.
anyway, the Taiwanese leader. Roger, put out a very nice Happy New Year thing to the world. Very nice. She had a bunch of puppies with her. I guess she's really into saving the puppies and finding them homes and stuff as one of her side causes, right? But China couldn't stand it. How dare they? Because not only did she say Happy Year of the Dragon, Happy Lunar New Year, how dare she even? She also said, from our hearts here in, wait for it, Taiwan.
Oh,
How dare she? There is no such thing as
oh,
Taiwan. There is only China.
yep.
So there you go.
So they're being very rational, is what you're saying. They're being very rational
No,
people.
matter of fact, they're starting to look more and more like North Korea. It's very worrying, and it's because their economy's collapsing, and the only way they keep power is just simply to become North Korea. Like
Yeah,
for
turn
instance,
Maoist.
we just had on the 10th. I saw it. Every year they have a. Japan does it too. Many other countries, Thailand does it, Korea does it. They have like a Lunar New Year kind of nighttime variety show thing, right?
Hmm.
And usually it's pretty good. You get a lot of music, people dancing, all kinds of stuff, just showing off the music and the popularity of things that are going went on the year before, right? It's a fun little
Sure.
family variety show. But this year they had several moments in it where the military come up and did dances
Oh
with
my.
bombs going off in the background. Family
Oh
content.
my. Yeah.
Family content, yeah. But that's what's going on in here in China, Roger. So
China.
China. But they're in big trouble, dude. Their manufacturing has completely collapsed. Their unemployment has jumped. I what last number I seen? It's in the past year 48% increase. That's not good.
Jeez.
Uh, no one's got a job. The banks are basically closed. You're not allowed to take money out of the bank. It's just anything you can imagine. Go look at Rhodesia. That's what's happening right now in China. It's really bad.
Hmm.
And Venezuela, another example. It's just full collapse. So I don't know what's going to happen in the long run, but yeah, it's not good. Anyway, all right.
Not good. Not good at all. Question is what do they do in response? Because a
Crackdown.
lot of, yes, a lot of their so-called allies are still lying and propping them up. So we'll see. We will see what the old dragon does.
Yeah.
Um, I think the best scenario, I still think this is probably what's going to happen, is the CCP's going to collapse
Oh
within
no. Yeah, definitely. It's just how
soon.
bloody is
Within
it?
soon, I'll say.
Yeah, within
Yeah, how
soon. It's
bad's it going
just
to be on the
how
way
bad
out?
is it going to be? Yeah. No, I agree with
Yeah.
that. And to be honest, the world would do better with an actual democratic China. It'll take them a while to work it out because they got a lot of bad practices. They have entire generations that are just broken from the Maoism and stuff, right? But
Yep.
if you have a truly democratic China, it might take 20 years, but eventually they would be a great partner to the world, I think. They would be competitive, but that's a good thing. We want competition, right? One of the problems America's having right now is we have no damn competition. That's the
Mm.
problem, right? And there's nothing, and that's why we've just let everything go to shit. And of course, sweet nothings from Democratic state and all that. But we'll see what happens with it. And of course, another problem we're having in that regard is you do have the BRICS nations, right? And Russia, China, and India, Brazil economically, are big bangers in that, right? And it would
Hmm.
be best for India to they're Russia and India get along well anyway. That's not an issue from the beginning. But the problem is India hates China with a passion, and the
Yep.
Chinese hate them. And in order for that to work, they really need to work together. Because once again, it would
Yep.
be great to have this strong block that is direct competition to the American bloc. It would be good for everybody, right? And they understand that, but it's tough because the Indians just can't stand the damn Chinese, dude. And there is history here between them if you didn't know. So I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to
No,
happen
they're
with
not.
that.
they're not friends. I remember, what was that, 3 or 4 years ago? They were engaged in melee fights on their border because they didn't
Oh
want to
yeah,
shoot at each other because that might escalate things. So they were just fighting. They're just
right. And
having
a bunch of
brawls.
Chinese died. Yeah,
Yeah,
because the
because
Indians were
China
way
can't
more
fight.
ready. Yeah, the Chinese army sucks, dude. They suck.
Yeah,
I s-
it always has. I don't know why people are so.
yeah,
The only thing they have is numbers, allegedly. That's
and
all
they
they've
don't even
got.
have that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
no. The Asians are the only Asians that are good at war are the Japanese, and they're not even really
yeah,
Asians. They're more
yeah.
like
And they're
this
not even
Russian
super
Slavic
duper
thing.
good at it. Like,
No, they're not.
compare them to like the
Comparatively,
Prussians. The Prussians
no.
would have stomped them in every war
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't. Our peoples, the whites, are particularly
Whitey, yeah.
good at war for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't. I don't
That
know what it is.
Neanderthal, I'm going
Yeah,
with
it might be
the
it's just the
caveman in
bone
us.
strength, or I don't know what it is, but it
Yeah,
is. I mean, take a look. Persia, the mighty Persia. You had
yeah,
some upstart brat who may well have poisoned his father for power, walk across their border in the
yep,
first battle and absolutely kick their ass, and
yeah,
with the frickin' prince right there with them. They run their tail. He just walks through their damn country, stomping the shit out of everything. Right?
yep,
I mean, and you
yep.
do realize he had 40,000 people, right? That's all
That's it.
Alexander had
Yeah,
was 40,000 people, stomping
that's right.
out a freaking army of over a million.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
easily. Wasn't even hard.
easily,
Wasn't
yeah,
even hard.
yeah.
Uh,
So I don't know what it
then you
is.
have the Brits. About a few thousand years later, the Brits just march into India and just, we'll have that.
Yeah, they
We'll just
well,
have
yeah,
that.
and they could still have it
Yeah,
too if they had not gone soft on themselves.
yeah,
So
yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever.
But it's interesting you bring up Alexander because there was this Netflix special. I don't know if we're going to talk about it or not. If we are, stop me. But there was a Netflix documentary. If you do, you hear the air quotes
Yes.
that came out, a docudrama, whatever they call them, where right within the first 10 minutes of the thing, they have a making out, full fledged romantic making out with a man.
Yeah, they love
I
to
said,
push that. It's like you do
I
realize he
don't.
had like 7 wives, dude.
He had the legends say he had over 365 concubines at one time. He literally had one for every day of the week. So,
Yeah,
or every day
yeah.
of every day of the year rather. Uh, but no, so there was been there even to the point now in the West, you're not allowed to even question if he was gay. It's not even like there's, according to the mainstream anyway, you don't even get to make an argument that he wasn't gay, that he wasn't having homosexual sex with men,
Ma, you never
even
know. I
though
mean, he might have been
there's
bisexual.
no evidence of that.
No, there is none.
None.
No, there's zero.
The only person who even remotely said that he did anything of that caliber was a man who died 400 years after him.
That's
What are
right.
we talking about right now?
And was very policy of the of his type of thinking as well.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, no, it's there. There is no contemporary evidence whatsoever. What we do know is
Correct.
he had many official wives. He had many
Yep.
concubines. He was renowned amongst his soldiers for being extra manly when it came to the women's.
Yep.
This is something that it was actually written down about him, how virile he was. Um,
That's right.
so but that's their shtick, man. It's their shtick.
Hence the conquering. I'd imagine that's probably why he was like, you know what? I'm gonna go kill the. Let's go kill those people and take their shit.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's.
yeah,
I mean, think
yeah.
about it for a second. I've known a number of homosexual men. You know what? They're not violent.
No,
They're
no.
just
The
not.
lesbians are though for some reason.
The lesbians, they're pretty violent. They're beating
They
the
are
shit out of
pretty
each other
violent.
on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
it's
But the
weird.
men typically are very docile compared to, your typical alpha male stereotype of a straight guy.
Well,
Uh,
the reason that's coming out is coming, and a lot of people attach this to the Athenians, and they shouldn't because it's not accurate. But there were another
correct.
group of there are many because basically Greece there was no Greece. It was called the
Correct.
Hellenic League. They weren't even a country, right?
Yeah.
They were a trade league coming out of
It's
the
like the EU.
Phoenicians, right? Very
Yep.
well as what it was supposed to be. Yeah, well, it's not what it's
Yeah.
become.
Well, yeah.
And the ones who were really uppity up about homosexuality were the thespians. Now I know that
That's right.
today you know this word as being actor. Well, it's actually a state in the ancient Hellenic League. The
Yes.
thespians. They're also the ones that betrayed the Spartans at Thermopylae, right?
Yep.
That's where the whole all the gay stuff is coming out of. Those dudes,
Yeah.
not the Athenians,
Most of the
certainly not the Spartans. Boy, I would
no,
not want to
no,
bring that shit to them.
no, no, no,
They
no,
did
no.
not have a
Uh,
sense of humor.
most of Greece, I would say what we call it Greece, the Greek states. Uh, Homosexuality was an aberration.
It was an
It just didn't
aberration,
happen.
and particularly
It's
amongst the
it was it's not even and it's
Macedonians,
not
the
even that it was
Romans.
considered wrong. It was, but it was largely it was like people. If you would have said that to something, they'd be like, "What? Why would I?
Well,
What? There's women right over there. Why would I have sex with them? What?
right.
Like that
Now,
wouldn't make sense to them."
and another thing that helps with this, the Macedonians, it was illegal, by the way. And of
Yes,
course, therefore,
correct.
Alexander, right, to the north. But the
Yep.
Athenians, there was a great leader, one probably the greatest leader of the Greeks, and his name was Solon, and
Yes.
about 500 BCE. And he did put up, he was a great statesman, and he's the one that ended tyranny. Keep in mind, that was just the form of government at the time, right?
Yep.
Today we use it differently. But he got rid of that, and he's the guy to put democracy in. And he put many rules, and some rules people loved, and some they hated. Two of the rules he put in that's bringing us to this conversation: one, he legalized prostitution, and he had an argument why he did it, and he also legalized homosexuality, which had been illegal.
Yes.
Because he saw no
Correct.
reason in bringing violence to a person simply because of their sexual choices, which I don't
Yep.
disagree with.
Yep.
Right? So there it
Um.
is. That's where these idiots in Hollywood think all Greeks were gay because one
Yeah.
ruler
They
was
just weren't.
kind-hearted.
They simply were not. The Western thought on homosexuality has largely always been the same.
Yeah.
And by coincidence of all of us being human fucking beings, pretty much everywhere on Earth has the same thought. The
Yeah,
ones who
no.
take it to the extreme the most are the Muslims, but it's
Well,
still
true.
the same basic thought.
No,
This
most
is
people
wrong, or don't do this.
yeah, yeah, but most people are also like, yeah, okay, just leave me out of it, and you can do what you want
Yeah,
to do. Most humans
correct,
are that way.
correct.
But the thing is, they'll take this and they'll Hollywood, those wokeites, the progressives, and they'll
Yep.
expand it into all the Greece, and then they want to somehow attach it to the Romans, and it's like,
Yes.
dude. You have not read anything. The Romans were not happy about that. They were quite brutal about that,
They were
actually.
hyper masculine. Why do you
Yes,
guys, folks, I don't understand how you're this gullible. The Nazis, the bad guys of the last century, allegedly.
yes,
The
big ones,
Nazis, they
big
called
baddies.
themselves. What did Hitler call his version of Germany? What did he call it, Chester? The third what?
The Third Reich.
What does Reich mean?
Huh? Well, I guess it would translate into empire, imperial.
Empire, which comes from Rome. He called it the third Rome, effectively. That's what he meant when he said that.
Yeah, sure.
The reason why the Nazis used the Roman salute, by the way, which was very common all throughout the Western world up until it became no that you're not supposed
That's
to do it
true.
anymore,
Most people don't know that.
was
That's true. Yeah.
he was trying to be like Rome,
Yeah.
specifically the Holy Roman
He was
Empire, if we're being
copying
honest.
us,
But
dude. That was
definitely,
our shtick.
yeah, he was trying to be Rome. He was trying to again. Another one was trying to reforge Rome. The Nazis were hyper masculine.
Oh
They
yeah.
had such a cult of masculinity that they would scar themselves to prove how manly they were.
Oh yeah. No, that's coming out of World War I as well. But
Yep.
the face scarring, yeah, that they give these fights intentionally to lose. But
Yes.
interesting thing about old Adolf, he, situation kind of got darker and darker over there. We all know this. I mean, not
Yep.
taking anything away from decisions made, but it wasn't just Adolf. Right, it was a
Correct.
committee of people that kind of brought it to the dark place it went to, and
Yep.
but in the beginning, Adolf was like, he wasn't very anti since we're talking about homosexuals. He wasn't very anti-homosexual. Matter of fact, one of his best
Correct.
friends, who had a high rank in his government, was a homosexual. And Adolf wasn't against him. He wasn't anti-gay at all. right? But he
Yep.
every year that went by, he had more and more pressure coming on him from his officers and the general thing because they were very anti-homosexual. And in the end, his best friend, he agreed like, okay, yeah, it's a crime, fine, make it illegal. And they're like, we're gonna deal with this guy, and he's like, well, he's my friend. I will deal with it. So the poor guy had
Yep.
to. I mean, yes, I'm saying the poor guy, Adolf. Yes, listen to the words. He had to go shoot his own friend in the head because of politics.
Yep. That's a true story.
True story, dude.
That is a true story.
Yeah,
Uh, but my point with bringing in the Nazis was their one of their big things was the Romanization, the Roman idolizing. They idolized Rome. They even
sure.
used
Just
Roman
like we did.
symbology and things. Yeah, just like we did. No different than us. They just took it to a whole nother level culturally. And because of that, that is how I know that it's very obvious to me if you just look through history, the civilizations, the cultures, the peoples that were hyper masculine were a lot of that was derived from Roman thinking and Roman thought and
Sure.
Roman,
They even had eagle
cultural
standards.
thing. Yes, that's why it's ridiculous to say things like the Greeks were. It was a gay utopia. I've seen people say this. It was a gay utopia. People were just
No.
having sex with everybody. No, guys, the one philosophy, the main one that both the Greeks and the Romans at their peaks was prominent in the upper echelons of power was Stoicism. Stoicism's core belief is to rein in your passion. That is the point of it. You don't just have sex with anybody. You be as abstinent as possible within reason, of course,
Hmm.
obviously, so they still have families, but you still control your passion. This is pre-Christianity. This is fornication be considering a sin in Christian thought. They still had very similar rules around
Sure.
sexuality.
Sure.
And this whole idea of Alexander was homosexual, or here's how they get out of it because they can't say he was homosexual because homosexual is a modern invention. He had homosexual relations. He had sex with men. He had a male lover. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah,
None.
zero. Yeah.
The only evidence you can even kind of put forward is he was sad that his friend died. That's it.
Yeah.
That's their
Weird.
argument.
How dare he
He
even?
was sad that his lifelong friend died when he wasn't there. He missed his death, didn't get to say goodbye. He cried about it and threw big games and stuff. Like they did back
Like
in the
they
day.
did. Yeah. Yeah. Like Achilles.
Ugh.
But no. I mean, it's a weird thing. When I was young, you could love a man, right?
Yeah,
He's my friend. I love him. Right? Well, you're not allowed to do that
yeah,
anymore. You can, of course, you could do it, but they just label everything as a bromance. That new word, bromance,
yes,
and it's like
yeah,
men can love each other. It's
correct.
platonic, but it's
There's nothing
okay.
wrong with it.
There's
It's
nothing
very
wrong with it.
strange
It is
how
weird,
much
dude.
these
So
people who
hateful. It's so
consistently.
anti-love, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going. These people who are so about love is love and love wins, right? That bullshit. And then you say, "Hey, I love that guy." What are you gay? What?
Yeah, it's weird.
No,
It's weird.
that's just my
Yeah,
dude. What
that
do you?
what didn't
What?
used to be
That?
that way. This is a very modern thing, dude. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
very
it is,
modern
and it's
thing.
gross.
It's
It's
gross.
it's
It is.
so disgusting and so I'm going to use their word. It's objectifying. You are objectifying men to being nothing more than sexual objects
Yeah.
because you can't see them as people able to have an emotional connection with another man that isn't sexual. That's
Yeah,
what they're
it's
doing.
really sick. Yeah. I do I have another question I want to ask, but I will end
Let's hear it.
this whole thing with one statement. There is no country in the history of us that
That's right.
was homosexual. There is none. There are
Correct.
some cities that were quite lean heavily in that direction, sure.
Yep.
There's never been a country or a culture that was. And of course, if you use your brain for 5 seconds, you'll understand why. Because if you have a country that was nothing but homosexual, that country would be done, right?
Yes. Very quickly, it would fall apart.
You need families making the babies, and of course, if you
You
are a
need, and it's
family,
not even that you need families. Although, real quick, you need dads
yeah, you do,
because
sure.
they're the ones who do the work of building the commons, which is your
Right.
country.
And the
Is
women build the
dads.
culture.
That's right.
But I'm just saying that, and therefore if you are a parent with kids, you're a conservative just because it is, right?
Yep.
The way it is. So there are some cities, examples like Edo or what we call Tokyo today. had a real problem with homosexuality before the black ships and Commodore Perry came in. And
Yep.
you had these priests, I mean, balls on these dudes, dude. The balls. I mean, Catholic priests, but absolutely ballish. Coming in, and one guy got up and talked to the emperor. He was a pretty young emperor at that time. Of course, they shouldn't use the word emperor, but whatever. That's a different conversation. And he
Yeah.
said, "You people are disgusting." And he gave it to him. Now, that emperor could have easily had him beheaded like in a second. But that priest did not care, and he railed into that the Japanese emperor, saying, "This is disgusting. What's going on in Edo or Tokyo?" And
Yep.
what did the emperor do? Did he get angry? Nope. He agreed and he shut it down. And that was the end
Shut it
of
down.
shut it down. And here's the thing: in
Ye-
Japan today, if you went and asked average Japanese, do you know that in your red light districts in your big cities back in Edo Jidai, there were rampant homosexuality, young boys being pimped around left and right? Did you know that? They don't have any clue whatsoever. That is
Wiped it
how
out.
much they stamp that out.
Wiped it all the way out. Good. Should. As you should.
And well,
Um,
especially what they
it's
were
it.
doing, it was pretty disgusting.
It's
Um,
interesting. Apparently, the Super Bowl played some ridiculous progressive Christian ad. I don't watch the Super Bowl, so I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter.
yeah,
About something about Jesus washing feet and da 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 da, and then
yeah,
pretending that Jesus didn't teach hate.
yeah,
That's retarded. He
yeah.
absolutely told you to hate evil.
Oh
One
yeah, he did.
thousand
Yeah,
percent, he did.
yeah.
And he went right up to the evil people, called them evil sinners, called them a generation of vipers, told them they were going to hell, and then said, "Do something about it." Why do you
Yeah.
think they did something about it, people? What do you think that was for? They were upset. They were offended that he got in their face and called them pieces of crap right to their face.
That's right.
It wasn't
That's right.
for no other reason than he made them mad. He didn't actually break any laws. There's no evidence he broke a
No, he
single
just
law.
made him. He just made him mad. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the feet washing thing has been a feminist talking point since the
yeah,
'70s, right? Probably
yeah,
even before that. And recently, it's rehashed itself because you get this phenomenon called passport bros that's happening now, and I
yeah.
understand why it's happening. And they're going to Southeast Asian countries and they're finding actual women, right?
Yes,
And of course, a couple of them said she washes my feet and yada yada yada. But what they don't understand about the foot washing thing is these
yeah.
cultures, they wear sandals.
That's right.
We wear shoes. They wear
That's right.
sandals. And therefore, sure, the bottom of their foot is protected from being damaged from stones and stuff, but their feet get dirty. So coming home and washing the feet would be a daily process, right?
Yes,
And they don't understand this. They think, oh, she's a slave washing his feet. No, she loves him, and he needs to have his
that's
feet
right.
washed. She's washing her man's feet because he's been out working all day. You bitch. Anyway,
That's right. And
I
when Jesus, here's the best part about it for me, is the people who promote these sorts of things. Like they also promote that Jesus says you're not supposed to, you're just supposed to let people abuse you effectively, just so they can abuse people. That's why they do that. But the people who promote these sorts of things take it completely out of context. They take it completely ahistorically, and basically just says, "See, you're supposed to submit to us," is what they mean. Uh, that's not what Jesus meant when he did that.
of
People,
course not.
that this
He
was
was showing
symbolic
humility.
of his humility, but it was also symbolic of what he was there to do. Theologically, he was there to wash away the sins of the world. The reason he
Sure.
was doing that was because basically right after that, he went and got crucified. He was showing yet again, through metaphor and analogy and actions, and I guess you could say a form of performance, what he was for, the purpose of himself, the purpose of, as John the Baptist said, the Lamb of God who washes away the sins of the world.
Right. No,
This
that's
isn't hard.
I get your point on the greater scheme, but in the smaller one, I've heard some arguments on this particular one. The foot washing thing has been brought up throughout history. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
that his main purpose for doing that was actually to tamp down the ego of his 72 disciples.
correct. That as well.
Yeah.
He didn't do. He almost never
Yeah. It's not
had one
12, by
reason
the
for
way.
doing things.
Yeah.
Right? He had many reasons why he did the things that he did, and that's why it's such a pain to try and interpret it into one lens, because that's not the point. The entire point of all of his stories, the entire point of all of the stories about him, whether you believe there was a real Jesus of Nazareth or not, is irrelevant. The point of the story is to be a lens,
Yeah.
meaning you can look at
Yeah.
different things and glean different things from
Yeah,
it.
it's macro and micro. Yeah, it is. It's
Yes,
true.
that's
Well,
the point of a parable. That's the point of great philosophy or great philosophical myths and things.
sure.
Ah, these
Well,
people.
let me get away from homosexuals washing feet, and ask another question.
Yep.
Tucker interviewed Putin, and the
Correct.
Western world lost its damn mind. And I'm curious as to why. I saw, lefties going crazy and saying he should be banned from the country, he should be arrested, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, um, I've seen Barbara Walters interview Putin, and she's pretty liberal. I've seen many people interview Putin over the decades. He's been around for, the 21st century is the age of Putin, right? There's been many
Yep.
people interview Putin. Why is Tucker Carlson a villain and they're not a villain? Please explain to me.
Um, because you see, the
Hmm.
people who actually control the media in America and the people who follow the media, the people I call media brains, uh, the media brains have been told that Putin is Hitler
Uh huh.
reincarnated.
I
Apparently,
see.
he is Hitler 2, the sequel, and far less impressive of a person. But that's neither here nor there. Uh, and so, therefore, just even speaking to this man is treason. He's now committed. I've literally seen this take. He committed treason
Yeah, I've
by
seen it.
talking
Yeah.
to him. Just
Yeah.
talking to him. He talked to him for 2 hours. That's all he did. He didn't hype him up. He didn't say what you're doing. He never at one point implied that Putin was in the right or even really in the wrong. He just said, why are he asked him questions. Why are you doing this?
Which
Why do
is
you
what
believe
Tucker
this?
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of
Um
the perfect person to interview Putin because Tucker
yeah.
he doesn't care who you are. Tucker will ask you anybody any question. He's
Yep.
kind of the
And he
perfect
did at the
person.
end there,
No,
he
several
actually
times.
had the nerve to ask him if he would free another some journalist who's over there that's in prison, one of the many I'm sure,
Right.
who's imprisoned for, as Putin said, espionage. Whether he did or did not is largely immaterial. He could be imprisoned for just looking the wrong way in Russia. Uh, and what I mean by that is by being an American. If he does anything over even lines that they didn't say exist, if you cross their lines, they're gonna do what they got to do.
Sure.
Uh, and so Tucker actually had the stones to ask if he would let him take him back to America. Right now, we'll wait. We'll do whatever we got to do. When we leave, if he can come with us. And Putin didn't say no, but he didn't say yes, so that means no. Uh, and but that alone shows that it wasn't some puff. He wasn't trying to puff him up. It wasn't a puff piece. He was
Even
doing
if
an
it
interview.
was, who
He was
gives a shit?
asking him questions.
It's an
Yeah, even if it was
interview.
at the
It's a
yeah.
reporter doing an interview, which is something that is
Did you
protected
watch it?
in the. Yes, I did. In the
Yep.
very first Bill of Rights, number one,
Yeah,
freedom of
it's
press.
kind of a big deal.
You
It's
know,
kind of part one.
kind of yeah. But I'm just like, why are these people on? I mean, like I said, many people have interviewed Putin over the years, dude. Many people.
Yes,
Why
he's
all of
not a
a sudden
mystery.
is Tucker a bad guy? And of course,
It.
and I did watch the interview, and Tucker was
Yep.
being Tucker. He wasn't
Yep.
softballing at all. It's Tucker. It's exactly what he always does. And
Yes.
in the end, of course, for me, nothing that was said was surprising because Putin has been saying this stuff for over a year. They've been trying
Yes.
to get a treaty done since shortly after this whole thing. But actually, excuse me, they were trying to get this thing dealt with diplomatically before it started, right? So Putin didn't
Yep.
say anything new. There was nothing new there. Now, maybe the mainstream people, because I haven't checked it, but I guarantee you there's probably 10, 20, 80 million people have watched that, right? Maybe more. And maybe for the mainstream people, it's the first time they're hearing Putin say that, maybe. But there was
Hmm.
nothing new there. Putin is saying the same thing he's been saying all along. Yeah, we want a deal.
Yep.
But the plain simple thing is, we're not going to let the Russian people in Ukraine be abused anymore. One, two, you damn NATO made a promise 30 years ago, and you've broken it over and over and over again, and we're done. That's what he's been
Yep.
saying. And if we can
Yep.
come to terms on these things, we're good. So I mean,
And he even said again that he would like to be in NATO. He says he knows it's probably not going to
Oh,
happen,
he always
but
wanted to be. That was one of
he clearly,
his
I
desires,
don't
man,
think
way
he's
back.
lying about that. I think
No, no.
that's the truth. I think he
He
would
20
rather
years
be in
ago he
NATO.
wanted that, dude. When
Yep, he hasn't.
Yeltsin
That message
put him in
hasn't
power.
changed.
No, that hasn't.
Yep.
That was his ambition day one. And when Yeltsin put him in power, right? Let's see.
Yep.
Bob says because the journalist wasn't a black lesbian. That's probably true. Over 140 million last I checked. Yeah, no, a lot of people. So maybe you're getting people who for the first time seeing Putin say these things that he's been saying all along.
Yes.
And just so you
You
know,
know what I
Bob,
find funny?
just to help you out, Bob, I got to help Bob out here. That
Uh-oh.
Roadhouse movie, dude, it looks pretty good, man.
It does look pretty good.
It looks pretty
I don't
good.
know why it's not in theaters, but it does look pretty good.
It looks pretty good. I'm waiting for a response. Give me a second.
Uh-oh.
Bob,
Uh-oh.
Bob,
Here it comes.
Bob. Sorry, go ahead, dude. I'm just fucking with him. Go ahead, go ahead.
Putin. Here's the thing about Putin. Putin is probably the best of a bad situation for the West when it comes to Russia. Because all these people who keep warmongering and talking about we need a regime change in Russia, good luck. You think Putin's extreme, you think Putin's crazy and evil, okay. He's got a whole generation, multiple of them at this point, under him with a lot more crazy, a lot more extreme,
True,
a lot
but
more radical,
also the Russians
some
love him,
pro-Soviets.
right?
The Russians
I'm
love him. Like this is still, guys, this is still Russia we're talking about. We have a whole meme about Russian men. They're fucking insane. We know this. This isn't like some arbitrary fact. It's like Florida man. That's real. These people are nuts, and that's okay. We love them for it anyway.
Yeah, but he's got like
But the
over a
point is,
70% approval rating, dude. It's
yeah,
legitimate too. This is outside source, not inside source.
the point is,
They love him.
he's
You know,
if we were to have him go, he goes away. Someone's going to fill that power vacuum, and now you're going to have probably a competition, unless he can name a proper successor.
it's true, Bob.
Probably a competition for the world's arguably most nuclear state.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
no,
not good.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Nobody
mean,
should want that.
yeah, no, and we've been saying this all along. Putin is the cap on that. Just like Gaddafi
Yep.
was a cap on Africa,
Yep.
Putin is a cap on it. Dude, if you listen, as I do, to these generals and these leaders over in
Oh
Russia,
yeah.
they want to just freaking go at Europe in general. And
Yes.
these idiots in NATO and these stupid socialist leaders of Europe, they don't understand that the only friend you actually have in Russia is Putin. Right? Now, I'm not saying that he
Yes.
hasn't done
Correct.
corrupt shit here or there. I'm sure he has, but that's not the point. He doesn't want full on war. He's the one keeping a cap on it, right? And if
It's
he should
interesting.
pass away mysteriously, because they've tried to kill him a few
Yep.
times, keep in mind, things
Yep.
would get worse, dude,
A lot worse in a hurry.
in a
It's
hurry. Yeah,
interesting that Tucker's original real question was, "Why did you wait so long?" With everything you've said, why did you wait so long to invade Ukraine?
yeah,
Putin largely didn't answer that question, but the real reason is because he didn't want the war. That's the answer,
yeah.
but
He
he knew he
can't
couldn't
say
give
that
that
though.
answer because it would make him look weak.
He
But
can't say
that's
that.
the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't want to do what he did, and anybody who thinks he did, then why did he wait so long? If
yeah.
Trump was
Tucker did
friendly
piss
to
him off a
him,
couple times though, if you noticed.
oh yeah, think about it. If Trump was this friendly Kremlin agent like some people in America genuinely believe, why wouldn't he have done it then?
Oh,
If
Trump.
he had a friendly, yeah, think about it. If Trump was no, not Trump, Putin. Why didn't Putin invade Ukraine when Trump was president?
Because that shit would have gone bad.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because
because
Trump clearly wasn't a Putin stooge or whatever nonsense the media
oh,
keeps trying to put
they
out there.
disproved that years ago.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
know, the
there's
thing
still
with
people who believe it, bro.
oh, the idiots,
Wholeheartedly.
man, they're absolute
Wholeheartedly.
idiot. Trump does not like war. He's made it very clear it's not good for business,
Yep.
and the reason it's not good for business is because he's not in that business. Let me give you a little bit
That's
of
right.
update on the world's business here. There's a little group in Europe, banker group called the Bilderberg Group. Right now,
It's
there are
them. Yep.
many banking groups around the world. This is not unique, and nor is it a conspiracy that they all want to become richer and more powerful. Right? But
Oh,
the Bilderberg one has got the biggest bang behind it right now. Right now, right? And therefore, let's take a look. Where do they make their money? because, like, say for instance, the TriStar Group here in Asia, which is got a couple of American banking groups in it. It's got some other Asian communities, but mainly it's controlled by the Japanese bankers, right? So how do they make their money? Where do they get their investment? And therefore, they put a lot of power behind, and of course, political leaning as well, right? Complete political influence. Well, they make their money on Toyota, Honda, Panasonic, Sony, Samsung, right? They make their money on electronics. So they're always pushing and giving favorable deals to these companies, right? Because that's their money. That's where they're pursuing their wealth. Well, what does the Bilderberg group make their money off of? What do they where do they put all their banking money behind? Well, I'll tell you, green technologies, right?
Yes.
War,
Scams. Yeah. The ultimate scam. Yep.
pharmaceuticals,
Another scam.
media.
Oh my. Well, that might be the one that competes with war for the ultimate. That they're the ones. One and two. Number
Well,
two. Number one contender there.
I'm just saying. Now, are you surprised that they want everyone in an electric car and eating crickets?
No.
Because
No.
if you buy electric cars and get green technologies, they make money. And
Yes.
you wonder why
They
the
make money
EU
and
and
get
the
power.
UN are constantly pushing this nonsense because they pay a lot of money to control those politicians. And
That's
of
right.
course, many American politicians are in their pocket, like the Clintons, like the Obamas, right?
Yes.
They're in the, we've seen Obama and the Clintons literally walking into a Bilderberg meeting. We've seen it. There's
Yep.
video of it, right? So
Yep.
if you think about it just for a second, look at all these big banking groups around the world, and there are dozens of them, right? And you look at where they're making their money, and then you look at their political control that they have and what's happening. Of course, it's related. Here in Asia, it's all about pushing tech, giving them special sweetheart deals in governments and stuff like that, which is all bullshit. I agree. But it's not trying to destroy the world. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just trying to make money.
Mm.
But this
Hmm.
Bilderberg group in Europe, they their main money is on the things I just listed out. So you shouldn't be surprised at all that they're trying to make everyone get an electric car and get rid of gasoline and all that stuff because that's not where their money is. Matter of fact, the big gasoline banking groups are conglomerates that it's changed over time. But you're looking at American banking groups, you're looking at some of the Middle Eastern ones, which were mainly initially set up and funded by the British, right?
Yep.
And the Americans. Um,
British
so
Petroleum.
and the thing is the for the Americans, and we don't many don't understand, the American bankers have lost the fight. They've lost.
Yep.
The
Yep.
Bilderberg group and other because there's plenty of other banking groups that will work together for their own benefit with Bilderberg and other groups. But the American banking groups that absolutely had their asses kicked, right?
Yeah.
It just is what it is, dude. And but that's this. So it's not really shocking to wonder why this green technology is being pushed so hard, because it's money, dude. It's all
Yeah.
about
Well,
money.
it's also power. Once they
Hmm.
get you in electric cars, Tesla already has a patent for this. They'll be able to just drive you, literally drive you wherever they want.
Yeah.
They can lock you in your car and drive you off a cliff, and there's
Well, we're
nothing you can
already
do about it.
seeing in some of the European cities that are completely controlled by the Bilderberg group and their politicians, where they're charging ridiculous amounts, like $30, $40 a day to park your electric car.
Yep.
There's a plan, dude. There's a plan.
Yeah.
And this
They're
is
gonna
why
price
when you
people
saw
out of it.
the Toyota boss come out a couple of weeks ago, literally jumping up down all excited, hooting and hollering about their ammonia engine, and you wonder, okay, what drug is that guy on? Well, he's
Mm.
happy because it's an absolute death nail to the EV. And
Yes.
keep in mind, his backers are the TriStar, and they're all about technologies. And
Right.
Toyota and all the other technology groups over here hate green shit. They hate it because one, it's
Well, because it's
stupid,
bullshit.
it is bullshit,
Yeah.
it's expensive, but it's also
Yeah.
their backers are not for that.
Well, it's also evil. A lot of these green technologies are have cobalt in them for various like the batteries and stuff. They use cobalt.
You know,
Uh,
lithium. Yeah.
just go Google how they get that in most of these places. It's the most evil practice of industry there can be. They use children slaves. There. Spoiler alert.
Oh no,
That's
they
how they
of
do it.
course they do that. That's definitely. Now I have to answer this. Dave says they did
Uh,
the same thing with ICE cars. Yep. You think the U.S. auto manufacturers don't have lobbyists? Remember when the taxpayer had to bail them out? No, you're 100% right, Dave. And of course, the
Absolutely.
problem with the this automotive lobby in America, they've lost. They've
Yep.
lost. They've got their
Or they
asses
bought in.
handed to them, or
Yeah,
they
one
bought
or the
into.
other.
They were bought out more than likely.
Right.
But
Right.
you're right. There used to be a time where that was happening, but you have to look at what's going on in America right now. Where's the manufacturing industry? Where is it? Right?
Red
It's
states.
nowhere. Right? It's not in
Well, the ones that
America.
have it, it's red states.
Yeah,
But other
sure,
than that,
red
yeah.
states, and they're doing well. But for the
Yep.
most part, the huge chunk. I mean, you live in the what used to be called the Forge. Now, what do we call
Oh,
it?
bro, it's barren. It's barren here. The Rust Belt, it's
The
barren.
Rust Belt.
They're,
How depressing a frickin' name is that?
the only stuff we still make in my city, which used to be a great American automotive city, it's the home of Jeep for crying out loud.
Right.
Uh, we still do some Jeeps because the city and the state pays Jeep an exorbitant amount of money just to stay here. Literally, it's just straight fascism at this point. They're just giving them money to stay because they've tried to leave multiple times. But the real thing, the only industry we actually make that isn't fully subsidized is glass in Toledo. Glass. It's called the Glass City. We
Right.
still do make a lot of glassware and glass products.
Oh, there's still
But other
pockets.
than
Yeah,
that,
of course. Yeah.
yeah, other than that, it's like because glass is one of those things that you could, yeah, you can get it from other places. You get it from China or whatever. I'm sure plenty of people do. That's a lot of dangerous shipping. You're shipping glass. The farther you
Right.
ship glass, the more dangerous it becomes because the wrong bump and there goes that piece of glass. Uh, so what happens is it's better. It's kind of like toilet paper. It's better to make that on over here if you can, than send it across the ocean.
Of
Uh,
course. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why America still makes a ton of toilet paper. We're one of the top people. I think
Yeah.
we are the
New
top country
Jersey
for toilet
probably
paper.
is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. But no, I mean, and that's why Trump was trying to bring manufacturing back to America because the simple fact of the
Yeah.
matter is we need to get back to a local system again if we want
Yes.
to survive into the future.
Well,
But just to name on this, these kind of things that these people do with the media to, and the mean spiritedness of it. Like I just mentioned, the Forge, right? Used to be cool.
yep.
Oh, it's the Forge. They build everything, right? The world over, right?
Everything.
And now
Everything.
it's been nicknamed the Rust Belt. What a slap
Yes.
in the face, right? Another big
It's
this
dead,
this
bro.
yeah, I know, but
Dead.
it's an intentional slap in the face, and this
Yes.
shit happens all the time. One of the biggest ones in history is Ireland.
Yep.
What a slap in the face! Now, Ireland was part of the Albion Empire long ago, Albion Kingdom. Some would also argue the Atlantean one, but I'm not going to get into speculation, right? But what they were
Mm.
called was Scotialand or Scotland.
Hmm.
Interesting how that moved. Hmm. But of course, later when the Catholics came in and the Almighty Saint Patrick, he drove out the snakes. Well, he didn't drive out the snakes. Did you not read it correctly? He drove out the serpents. And what does serpent
That's
mean?
right.
It means wise man.
Yep.
He drove all the druids out, all the priests out that
That's
were already there. He didn't drive any snakes out. There never been
right. And
snakes
by
in Ireland.
drive them out, we don't mean he put them in a jeep and took them
Oh no,
took
they
them to
killed them,
somewhere. No,
and
he killed
it
them.
was a
That's what he
slaughter.
did.
It was a slaughter. And
Yes.
the Irish are happy to fight over Catholics. It's disgusting, in my opinion. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
then they renamed it Ireland, the Idi, the people of Idi. Now, who are they? They're the Aryans, right? It's the same
That's right.
word, by the way. They're the migrations that came in from the east to the west, right? And they're the ones that end up kind of, blowing everything up and knocking everything down. You damn Germans. But I mean, that's one
Yeah.
of the biggest renaming insults in history, dude. Right
Yeah.
there,
It's
Ireland,
and
and
it's.
they don't
I
even
mean, that
know
sort
it.
of stuff is done intentionally. It's done to demoralize and to control because like going back to the electric cars, the reason why they're pushing that, it's not because they believe the world's in danger. That's ridiculous. Nobody actually believes that who understands, geothermic history of this planet.
Well,
It's because they can the more tech they get into your life, the more they can control you. And they know that. That's why
mhm,
they're pushing for the electric vehicles. That's why they're pushing for self-driving
it's all
vehicles.
money.
That's why
Yeah,
they're pushing for all this
yeah,
stuff. It's money, but it's also control.
yeah, yeah.
If they can take away your ability, there's a reason why in the US Constitution, I know people don't know this, but it is true, you have the right to travel. You
You
have
do.
the right to
Yeah.
travel unmolested.
I believe that's the
There's a
Fourth
reason for
Amendment, isn't
that.
it?
There's a reason. Part of the Fourth Amendment. It's one of those implied rights, meaning it's not. I don't think it's directly stated, except for between states. Right? It says you're not allowed to be molested. They're not supposed to have borders between states, basically. Uh, but the implication is then they shouldn't have the right to stop me for just about anything.
Yeah. Traffic
And there've
stops
been
and
court
stuff like that.
cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, there've been court cases over this, and pretty much that's what the courts decided, but nobody really enforces the law properly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The reason that is a right, a guarantee, which is all right means, is because that is freedom. By definition, if you
Yeah.
can't move, you can't go from point A to point B without some fuckery, you're not free.
That's true.
By definition. And that's the other reason. They want I've been saying it for years. They want their serfs back. Serfs weren't allowed to travel. They had to ask permission from the Lord before they could leave the land.
Hmm.
Uh, it's the same thing. It's just neo serfdom. It's just technological serfdom. That's what they want, and that's why they're pushing the EVs and all this stuff. Because think about it. Let's say let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they do believe that global warming, climate change, is this major threat to human life. Even in the most ridiculous, besides the most ridiculous predictions, the vast majority of the models show a 1 to 2 degree warming by 2100. 1 to 2 degrees.
No, it's not even two. But just to give information on top of what you're saying here, understand all this carbon noise you're hearing
Yep,
is about, as far as the atmosphere itself, it's about 0.04%
that's right.
is carbon. Now,
That's right.
keep in mind, they're
And
suggesting that it was 0.03% or 3.4% before. So it's gone
that's
up
right.
a little over half a percentage. Now, a very important thing, that's very small, right? But another thing to keep
Hmm.
in mind, though, is if you get down to 0.02%, you know what happens? Everything on Earth dies.
Correct.
All the plants
Mass
die,
death.
and then we die, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, and then eventually the atmosphere dies, goes
So
away.
these
Bye bye.
jackasses are trying to take us back to a dangerous point where actually going up a little bit is more normal to what the Earth is usually doing.
Correct.
So, I mean, the actual science here is not even close to any kind of panic. It's
Yes.
actually
And well, that's
beneficial.
my point. That's my point. Is that even if you take them at their word, the absolute worst I've ever heard is a 2 degree warming. Most of them say 1 or less than 1 degree
Hmm.
on average for the global temperature.
Yeah,
That's nothing. What does that mean? What does that actually mean for the everyday
more
person where
tundra
most
opening
people
up
live?
for humans to live on.
More land,
More
yes,
land.
not less land. In fact, they say, well, what if the it gets some of the oceans start to dry up? Okay, so
Where?
more land. First of all, where is that going to happen? And second of all, more land? I don't. What's the argument here? Unless you're sitting here saying we're going to lose so much ocean coverage that it affects the actual atmosphere, puts the actual gas atmosphere in danger of dissipating,
Which
which
it's
isn't going
not.
to happen.
It's not.
Uh, then what are we so worried about? What is the big deal? But they pretend like it's the end of the damn world because there might be some more storms occasionally. When the reality is the vast majority in places that experience them, the vast majority of these great storms are, I mean, they do some property damage, but they don't typically kill tons of
Besides, they're
people.
no different than they've been in the past.
That,
You have
but they
good
don't
years and
typically
bad
kill
years.
tons of people anymore because we have a
Yeah,
technology to
technology. Yeah.
resist them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not worse. That's one thing. That's
No.
definitely not true.
My
Um,
point is it's all smoke and mirrors. What they want is control. That's what they've always wanted. That's why every solution that comes out of these big think tanks and these big government agencies is somehow I have to give up more of my freedom
mhm.
and my money. It's never, hey, let's try this other way. There's never another way where I don't have to be personally directly affected. It's always the little person has to do more. Never them, by the way. Never
Right,
them somehow.
right.
It's always us.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's so obvious when you put down the rhetoric. You're not going to die from this. You're going to die eventually, so calm down. This is probably not going to be the thing that kills you. The weather. So what are they really after? And
No,
what they're really
it'll be
after
neo
is
Nazis,
power.
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But it also brings up a problem where you can't talk about stuff, right? For instance,
Correct.
Greenland is certainly having melt off, right? And some of
Yep.
the up in Scandinavia, but yet Alaska and Antarctica is gaining ice. Okay, so
That's right.
that's interesting. Why? Well, we can't talk about it, right? Can't know. Because it's global warming. You're some
It's a
kind of
big
Nazi.
mystery.
But
Yep.
I'm just saying there's something going on, so why can't we investigate that? It's interesting, right? But it's just like other things. Like you can't talk about the homosexuals for some reason. You can't talk about blacks. You can't. There's things you can't talk about, and it's like, why? Why can't I talk about it?
Because I can tell you why. What the actual reason is, not the rhetoric they give. The actual reason is because the people who they're talking down to, the people who they're trying to demoralize, are the people you're saying you're not allowed. Are the people you're saying by not saying in what you just said. And what I mean by that is European people, white people,
Yeah,
middle
yeah,
class
yeah. White
people,
people are
straight
under a
people.
huge attack right now. That's true.
They're
I
the
love
ones
this.
that they're afraid of.
Yeah, that's true. I love this statement by Dave. He says that I have to push a bake button just to cross the street. That's true, dude.
I mean, you don't have to.
Well, yeah, but
I jaywalk
it's
all the
it's efficient though. It's efficient.
time.
Yeah, no. Of course, it also comes down to personal sensibility, right? Are you
Yeah,
trying to help the society move forward, or are you literally being a hinder to it? But
that's right.
nevertheless, let's jump in and take a look at some of the things we have here for us today.
Let's do it.
And Yeah, it's some interesting conversations. The first one I think is absolutely hilarious because good on this fella. I don't know who he is. I know he was like
Let's do it.
Curb Your Enthusiasm dude, and he's one of the my favorite type of people that have a first name and a last name that is a first name. Larry David,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
I love these humans. They are sent by the devil. I know.
Well,
Uh,
well, I'll leave that one alone.
Okay, but now we got to take a look at this right here. This is from now. There's several things to note here on today. Okay, there's several things to note on this show right here. But let's take a look at this first here. Let's just take a look here. All right.
Let's go over to Alfred, checking the weather.
Oh,
And
not yet.
Wait,
Not yet.
No,
Not yet.
not Alfred says not yet. Okay,
my
obviously
God.
a
You love
joke.
Elmo, don't you?
Oh my
you okay?
God.
Mr. Larry, Elmo liked you before.
Ask permission before you touch people, Larry.
Touch people, hey, right?
How you feeling?
How you
They would
feeling?
have canceled the show, Elmo, if it weren't last season.
Okay,
All right,
Larry,
then.
you've gone
In the
too far
world?
this time.
Yes,
right.
Larry.
Now
Somebody
later
have
on,
to
he
do
comes
it.
out and makes a
Give him a
joking
camera.
apology
From
here
From where?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
from my heart. Make an
ahead, we're
apology,
ready.
Larry. Make an apology.
organ are you talking about?
Yeah, just
your heart.
Okay,
Go ahead.
say you're sorry.
Elmo,
Larry?
I just want to apologize.
Thank you, Larry.
That's
Right.
very big
Now,
of you.
clearly it's a bit, right? It's a bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's lame as shit. I agree. That's the thing you should notice
Yeah.
most here on this Today Show is how lame everybody involved is. It's incredibly
Dragged.
lame. I mean, who
Just
are these
dragged.
lame ass people? How embarrassing is this? Lame. Lame.
Imagine spending your morning watching this. You're like, yeah, this is what I'm about right here.
But
I want
anyway,
more of this.
it's a bit, right? They did a bit,
Yeah.
right? Because most people find Elmo to be quite annoying. Um,
Hmm.
I grew up with Sesame Street, of course, and Elmo was after my time. But I've always personally found Elmo to be way too soft, way too, liberal mom. Right? That's what he's
Mm.
coming out of,
Hmm.
single mom thinking. He's way too soft. He's just annoying. And I've always wished that Grover would accidentally run him over in his roller skates. Anyway, but here now that's a bit. We all can see it's a bit. They had it set up and it was awkward, and it was almost a complete failure. They barely pulled off the bit. Is how lame these people are. But but
Yes.
but but
Uh-oh.
someone got upset, and the entire wokeites jumped on board with it.
Just his name is enough. Just his name is enough to send me into laughing hysteric
Right.
Joker fits.
And we
Will
need Patrick
Wheaton
Stewart.
rages at Larry David for Elmo attack. Appalling, unforgivable, and despicable.
Despicable.
Shut up, Wesley.
Wesley. God damn it.
God, just
anyway,
look. You want to know what's wrong with America?
right
Want to
there.
know? I
This
can give you
simp.
one
This
example
simp.
right there. That
Yeah.
fucking face. You see it everywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm wearing glasses right now, but you know what? I keep myself nice and shaved up. He's completely unkempt. That beard is a mess. His hair's barely combed. He looks he looks dead in his eyes. And have you noticed lately? I've been noticing this. Lefties, their eyes literally go the wrong directions. Have you noticed this? I've noticed it.
They're insane.
It's
yeah.
very strange. It's
Yeah.
very strange that if you look in next time you're watching some idiot leftist like Will, like old Willie boy here, say nonsense, and you can actually see them looking what's supposed to be straight. Notice that their eyes don't go straight; they go the opposite directions a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
no,
very
it is
weird.
a bit weird. But here's the thing about Will Wheaton. I actually probably have a little bit more uh, insight into him than the average person here.
Oh no!
Because, well, no, it's a weird little thing actually. Because years and years and years and years ago, he got involved with Geek and Sundry, and
Yep.
now these are people who do they do other things, but mainly they're into board gaming, right? Which I am,
Yep.
right? And Will had his own on the tabletop show for board gamers. Average humans don't watch it. It's a board gamer culture thing, right? Subculture thing. And so I've seen a lot of Will sitting down with other people doing board games and various
Mm.
things. And I stopped watching because he's so damn simpy. His wife would show up on occasion. She's a smoking hottie, by the way, right?
Mhm.
But you could tell instantly in their conversations who had the pants on in that freaking relationship, dude. Instantly tell, right? There was no hesitation to it. Although she is beautiful. But this is the ultra simp right here with Will Wheaton, and he's been this way for a very, very long time, right? This is not new.
Yes.
This is old.
Yeah.
But old Will wrote
Oh,
an
look at that! Very.
intense 900-word essay on Facebook.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid, bro. Over nothing. He didn't
A
even
bit.
hit
It's a
Elmo.
bit. It's
If
a
you
bit.
noticed, he didn't actually touch him. He never
No, of
hit
course
him.
not, because it's a bit. It was set up, right? It was set up. It's a bit, right? These
The whole
lame-ass
point of
people
Larry
set it up.
David is he's a human Grinch. He's a curmudgeon. He hates everything.
the
That's his
point,
whole
yeah.
character. That's
But
him. That's who he is.
the black fella here, not this black fella, the other black fella, the weathercaster, they almost screwed it up because he had to throw it back to them because they wanted to move the camera. But this was so lame, and they barely pulled this off. It was such a lame bit. But Will goes into this just freaking soliloquy here, dude. I mean, look at this.
Oh my
Let
God!
me see if I can get my best Will Wheaton.
You have too much masculinity in your voice,
When
bro.
I was growing up, my dad would grab me by the shoulders and shake me while he screamed in my face. He choked me more than once. He was always out of control, always in a furious rage, and always terrifying. I'm a 51-year-old man, and my heart is pounding right now. Whoa, dude. And he even gets deeper here. He starts cussing. What the F is wrong with this guy? F asshole. Fuck. Okay. Good job, Will. Will got very upset and threw a lot of expletives at Larry David. He just can't believe because, Will was traumatized as a kid because his dad would grab him by the shoulder and yell at him, probably because you did something wrong. And your dad was, trying to correct you because you notice here he doesn't say my dad beat my ass. He doesn't say any of those things. He said my dad grabbed me by the shoulder. Although he does accuse him of choking him. However, you probably were doing something wrong. You were probably being a smug little shit, Wesley.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind grabbing him by the shoulders and
Most
screaming
people
in his
wouldn't.
face.
But I
I'm
find
just
this.
saying.
Yeah, I find it's absolutely hilarious that everyone is up in arms.
Oh
Will
no!
Wheaton is up in arms. The View, the morons of the View, are talking about it. Like, oh my god, oh my god, and
Oh
it's
my
like, dude,
god!
it was a freaking bit. Larry
Yeah.
David, I'm sure it wasn't his idea. Someone else there had like, oh, you know what you could do, Larry? Right? It's a bit.
All right. You know what I need? I
Yeah.
need somebody to show this to the South Park guys.
I
Get it
think.
out there to Trey and Matt and have them reenact it in South Park, but instead Larry David's South Park character beats the living fuck out of Elmo.
Yeah.
Just goes in and pounds him into oblivion
Yeah.
and refuses to apologize. That's what I need to happen because this is so retarded. It's actually causing my frontal lobe, my frontal cortex, to ache a little bit. I'm feeling it coming on, Chester. An actual aneurysm from how stupid this is, and the fact that anybody could see that literal nothing of a skit
Yeah.
and turn it into something serious or be triggered by
Oh,
it.
it's ridiculous. I think one
Golly,
of the things that really
Will, just tell me, just be honest, just say it out loud. You've never made a woman orgasm intentionally. Just say it, Will. We
That would
all
be
know
a
it.
that
Get
would
it
be a
off your
shame
chest,
though,
bro.
because she's smoking, dude. She needed proper dicking.
Oh, come on, you know she's got a couple boys
I'm
who
sure
she's
she
got. She
does.
speed dials because Will can't get it done.
Maybe not. He is an incredible simp. I mean, if you want to go look at his on the tabletop show, his wife does show up on that, and you want to see how much of a simp he is when she's around. He's a simp
Oh
anyway,
God.
but just seeing him with her around is like, whoa, dude, whoa. Because me personally, if I had I mean, my wife's actually quite attractive, but she is she's a white lady, but I would definitely be making sure that was in order. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd handle that
yeah,
shit. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, I'm sure he does with a couple black guys named Tyrone who come
maybe.
in and take care
Yeah,
of that
maybe. I
business.
don't know. I have no idea about that, but this guy is ridiculously soft. And I think one of the things that set a lot of men off is offhand, as Larry was walking away, he said, someone had to do it because they
we're
don't
gonna
get.
pretend. We're gonna pretend everybody who is an adult hasn't thought about beating the shit out of Elmo's whiny little
Yeah,
voice, because I have. Like, shut up, Elmo. Shut up,
yeah,
Elmo.
no, Elmo is such a single mom implant.
Yeah,
Into the Sesame Street. He's so soft and lame. I mean, because if you go back and look at the older Sesame Street, of course, it's for little kids, it's educational. Of course, that's what it is, right? But you would have, like, for instance, a Grover, as I mentioned earlier. Grover is kind of a
hmm
whinger and a whiner, right? And he'd whinge and whine, and the various other people would tell him, "That's stop that. That's not a good thing. If you're upset about something, go and talk to the person or this and that. But whinging and whining is not the way, right? Many times Grover got
yeah,
put in his place because he was whinging and whining. And that's, because that's not good either, right? But
right.
then Elmo comes in, the epitome of whinging and whining, right? And I'm telling you, it's a single mom implant, is what it is, right? But nevertheless,
Yeah,
I thought this was freaking hilarious. The bit was because it's so lame. Did you? I showed you the bit. You guys saw it, right? It's so lame. They could barely even pull it off. These people are so incompetent, right?
yeah.
These Today Show people. They're just they. It's oh my god, dude. And then of course, Will Wheaton had a freaking meltdown. 900-word essay on Facebook.
That is outrageously hilarious.
It is
900 words
900 words.
over a puppet getting barely touched, by the way.
Barely. Yeah.
Barely, lightly touched
Yeah.
in an aggressive manner. Oh my
And of
god.
course, they were playing on the fact that Larry David is a curmudgeon. That's the
Yeah,
character he plays on his show there, which
he
I've never
hates
watched.
everything. He hates everybody.
Right.
He's a full time Hall of Fame level hater. That's his
Right.
character. He's
That's the
just a
point.
hater.
That's the
Yeah.
point. Yeah. And that's the bit. That's where the bit came out of. But I just think it's so hilarious how lame the attempt at the bit was. And then the absolute meltdown from various, the View. They, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. But of course, it's Tuesday for them. Um I still don't understand who watches the View, dude. What kind
Oh,
of
the same
human
people you were
watches
just
these
talking about.
moronic women?
These women who married some guy, typically a simp, but he's one who makes decent money, so they don't have to work. and they just sit around and watch that absolute brain rot. And then their husbands, who are too tired from working and also being simps, just agree with them because it's easier, and there you go. So they're these type of women who are in control of their houses, right? They're the man of the house, and it's just that's just the way it is because the men have no interest or no testosterone enough to
Thanks, Dave.
be manly enough to say no. I'm not going to. We're not going to do this. This is wrong.
Yeah,
this
but
is that, or whatever.
those women are so stupid, dude. They're so
They
stupid.
are, but there is a lot of them in America,
Yeah,
and
but
there's
they're
a lot
also,
of men who yield to them.
well, I get it. The simp is a real thing, but there are also a lot of smart ladies. And you would think
Yep.
that the matter of fact, the average woman is capable, right? You would think they would be like, "Lady, shut up! You're embarrassing the entirety of womanhood." You would expect some
Yep.
women would get in their shit because of how embarrassing they are.
You would think,
You would
but
think.
they don't.
I'm surprised San Francisco's 10 and Kansas City's 13. It looks like a boring game, but because
Yeah.
everyone I saw said San Francisco was going to take it easy. So Kansas City's coming up, 2 in a row. They got to do the
Well,
old
no.
Patriot thing.
Let me explain to you. The NFL is just as fake as pro wrestling, and anybody who doesn't understand that is a simple person who just doesn't have the ability to look beyond first and second layer of
I
reality.
haven't watched for years because of the whole woke shit.
The reason why, well, but the reason why I know it is the numerology is perfect for Kansas City to win, especially if they win with 13. That would be amazing. There's a whole bit of it. I'm not going to get into all of it, but the number 13 is resonating all throughout this. The Super Bowl that they're in, the two numbers add up to 13. For instance, Taylor Swift's new album is called 13.
Oh,
On and on. There's all kinds of 13s involved.
Isn't she dating yet another guy?
Yeah, she's dating one of the players. Every time she's on this at the game, that she pretty much dominates the show, from what I understand. But basically, my point is if you don't think the NFL is scripted, you're simply a fool. You are being fooled because it absolutely is. That doesn't mean it always is, but there are certain years where it definitely is.
Or certain moments,
100%.
Yeah, that's possible.
It's too much money on the table for them not to ensure the outcome that makes them more money.
How many
Simple as
men
that.
has Taylor had between her completely average thighs? I mean, seriously, how many dudes has she dated and then wrote a song about? How many are there? It's a lot, yeah. Are you checking it? Did I lose Thundero?
Sorry, my wife came in here asking me about Raisin Bran logos. What'd you say?
I said exactly how many men has Taylor Swift had between her completely average thighs?
Oh, too many. She's my cousin actually said it perfect. She is the quintessential 5. She's right in the middle.
Yeah, which is
She's
fine.
not,
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
that's fine, but there's a lot of people who, if you say that on the internet or just in general, they lose their fucking mind.
I think,
and I think a lot of that,
face, though. But she's an average girl.
I think I think she has a very good makeup artist. That's
She
what I
does,
think.
but I mean, I don't really care about her appearance. I mean, but I'm just.
But my point
very
is,
hoish, dude.
there's a lot of people who will lose their mind, and typically they're American females, and the reason is because the American female is hideous now. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the average weight for the American female is 175 pounds.
Ain't good.
It's
not good.
That's a problem. That's a whole problem right there. Yeah.
I'm 212 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's close to me. They ain't good. Someone asked why. Dave says, why didn't Will Wheaton say anything about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Because you think Will Wheaton's going to say anything about a black man? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This
it goes even further, Dave. It goes even further about the Patriots in 9/11. How many buildings went down on 9/11, Chester? That we know of.
Well, I know 1 and 2
in New York
went down. I know 7 went down mysteriously. I don't know all 7.
Well, 3 buildings went down that day.
Yeah.
Yep. 3 buildings went down that day. There were 3 planes that made it to their targets. 1 did not.
Right.
The Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Against who did they beat? Do you remember? It was the Rams. Chester, come on. Do I got to spell that out for you more? The Patriots beat the Rams. What did those planes do to those buildings? They
Okay.
rammed them.
Wow.
You know how much they beat them by? 3 points. You know how they won? With a field goal between 2 towers. Come on, bro.
Oh.
You're telling me that ain't a script? You couldn't
Well,
write a script that could be perfect
dude.
with foreshadowing and laying it out and nailing it right at the end. They needed the military-industrial complex who runs the NFL and runs most entertainment. That's not even a conspiracy. It's a fact. In America, they needed to garner patriotic support because they were getting ready to launch a bunch of wars after 9/11. So,
Sure.
there you go. They used subliminal messaging of the Patriots defeating the Rams through by overcoming towers effectively.
Mhm.
That's what that was. And that was the one that made me go, huh, that's a little too perfect. That's
Yeah,
just
well,
too clean.
the
Because they weren't supposed to even be in that game, by the way. The Patriots were supposed to get smoked in that game, and they won by 3 points.
Well, Saturnists and all of their various ilk, they do love the spell.
Yep.
And they do a lot of stuff with commercials and shows that they consider to be spells. Now, the thing with, you might hear what he's saying or what I just said and say that's ridiculous. Well, keep in mind, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't
That's
matter
right.
what you think is legitimate. It matters what they think is real. And they
Correct.
believe in magic, dude. Keep in mind, a lot of that stuff that goes on with the young kids being abused from Hollywood and elites and things like that. Keep in mind, it's not for necessarily lust of a child. It's because they're performing Solomon's Key. They
That's
think
right.
there's magic in it, right? And like I said, it doesn't matter. You can say, "Oh, it's stupid." That's fine. I probably would agree with you, but they believe it, dude. That's the important thing. They believe it. But
Yep.
anyway, we went down a little bit of a corridor there.
Hey, listen, all I'm saying is the NFL is fake. It's as fake as pro wrestling. Probably,
Mostly
maybe not
pro
as
wrestling.
bad, but it's very, very, very clearly scripted. And what triggered my, acknowledgement of this was 9/11, the Super Bowl after 9/11. It was also, if you go, now you don't even usually get tickets, but when they used to actually give you a paper ticket, if you read on the back in the fine print, it says this is for entertainment purposes only, and they basically can't guarantee an outcome one way or the other. And that to me can read as just generic, legal speak so people don't get too upset. But it can also be a disclaimer, meaning if we get found out that we rigged it, you can't sue us.
Well, the only thing about 9/11 that really stuck in my head at the time, and I saw it happen live by just sheer coincidence, right?
Yeah.
As I had been working all day, I was a manager, property manager at that time, right? Working for the city of Honolulu. And
Hmm.
I was late night and I was just sitting there. I was getting ready to go to bed. I was just about to shut it off, right? And the news was talking about they think some small Cessna or something hit the building because we had had those things happen before. And then I saw the second one hit right behind them. So I
Yep.
saw it happen live, oddly, right? Or at least half of it happened live. And the thing that always stuck in my mind, there's many little things you can get into the whole conspiracy theory on that, but the two things that really stuck hard in my mind were one, why did Building 7 come down?
Yep.
And how in the hell did the plane come into the Pentagon? And there's a video came out somewhat recently, suggesting that this was proof showing that the plane hitting, and they had slowed it down. But it's like, yeah, I see an explosion, but I don't see any plane, dude. They did a reenactment
Yeah.
trying to show you
Plane.
what you were supposed to see with the video, and I
Yep.
watched it several times. They're like, yeah, there's no plane there. I just see an explosion, coming out from the Pentagon, not into the
That's right.
Pentagon. Those are the two things that stuck in my head, and the third one kind of was the fact that the firemen who were there, just the dudes,
Yep.
they didn't understand why there was like a literal Olympic-sized pool of thermite floating in the bottom of the building.
That's right. Liquid metal. Yep.
Yeah, they like how did that happen? Because
All
they
sorts of reports from the firemen.
yeah
There's video evidence of the firemen talking about explosives going off and
yep
being found within the
being heard
buildings.
yeah
There's also the fact that a very large portion of the first responders within the next 10 to 12 years mysteriously died. That's strange. And that was never really reported on anywhere outside of New York City, basically. But
Right.
yeah, that sort of stuff happened. It just reeks of a cover up. The fact that the metals that were used in the building were taken to warehouses and no one was allowed into them from the
Right.
salvage operation. And then eventually those metals were repurposed into other things, so you couldn't even do tests on them to see exactly actually what happened.
Right. I
Um,
think probably what happened was they caught wind of some terrorists trying to pull it off.
yeah,
Or one of our agencies caught on to it. And they were like, we could use this to our advantage, but we better make sure they're successful. I
yeah,
think something like that is probably what happened, right?
I
But
agree.
who knows? Maybe one day we'll know. But there's certainly some suspiciousness that went on with
Here's
9/11.
the
That's
truth of
clear.
it. The final truth on it is it doesn't even really matter. It doesn't
No,
even matter if our government did it all themselves. Doesn't matter. You know why? Because the public doesn't care, and they're not going to. We found out just last year, I think it was, that the CIA almost certainly killed Kennedy. No one cared. We found out the
yeah,
government admitted that we've had some form of contact with people or beings or entities from outside of our world.
yeah.
No one cared.
No one cared.
Um, we have confirmation from the CIA that psychic powers are real. No one cares.
Yeah,
Uh, my point is the apathy of the people will not be moved by anything. Oh, another one. The Gulf of Tonkin. The thing that led to 58,000 American
that
deaths and
was a
millions
red
of
flag. It was
Asians.
a lie. Yeah.
Never happened. Yeah, that was a
No, it
lie.
never happened. But that's
I
old news.
told my uncle, who was in Nam and nearly died, the truth on that. I showed him the evidence of it. He didn't even care. My point is, once you've been demoralized, like the people have,
Uh-huh.
it is incredibly hard to get them animated about anything.
Right. But they sure as hell get upset about strangling Elmo, though, which is something that should have been done
Yes.
a decade ago. So basically, what all of this means, guys, is Larry David, the man who has two first names, is my new spirit animal.
Your new hero.
Yeah, my
The
new hero.
champion. The champion of the light.
Look at him so happy there. Look at him so happy. Very nice. Anyway, let's get into what you want to talk about.
Here we go. Here we go. So last week, I accidentally hijacked the entire stream. It wasn't intentional,
Uh-huh.
but it was a very hot topic. And our boy, everybody's boy, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dwayne The Rock, it should say in there because he officially owns it now. He can call himself this.
He can.
The Rock Johnson, now a supervillain, as WWE explodes for WrestleMania. I don't know if he has superpowers, but he is a villain.
Well, tell him what happened, as it is interesting.
So here's what happened. We talked about it last week. There was a massive outcry and outrage that The Rock was going to come in after not being there for 12 years or whatever it's been. I think it's been 12 years. And just take a WrestleMania main event because he's The Rock. And he was taking it from Cody, who is the hottest babyface they've had in 20 years, probably. I'd say he's hotter than Cena ever was, if I'm being honest. He's on the verge of that level of like your Austin, your Rocks, your Hogans. If they can keep him hot for a couple more years like this, he'll be on that in that conversation. He sells so much. Anyway, they had this guy ready, raring, and go. He needed his moment. We thought he was going to get it last year. Didn't happen. He lost in the main event to Roman Reigns. Roman's still champion. Cody wins the Rumble. Wins the Royal Rumble, was supposed to main event WrestleMania, called out Roman Reigns at the Rumble, said, "You're the one I want to fight."
Yeah.
And The Rock shows up the next Friday, right after the Rumble, which was last Friday, or the Friday, no, 2 Fridays ago, and said, basically, Cody said, "I'm not going to fight you at WrestleMania because this guy is." Rock comes out, and Cody steps aside. Well, the fans weren't having it. Fans were pissed off, fired up, big mad. Whole Twitter campaigns were started. I was very mad myself for the reasons I laid out at the beginning because it felt like another thing I loved was being corrupted by bullshit. And then the response that we got from just about everybody except Cody was deal with it. Deal with it, basically. Well, the fans weren't going to have that. We most of us had lived through the Cena era where we were told to deal with it. We lived through the Roman Reigns being a babyface, even though nobody liked him. era where we were told just to deal with it. And the fans weren't going to do this again. We weren't going to do this again. Vince McMahon's gone now. He's probably never coming back. We weren't going to do this again. We weren't going to allow this to happen. That was the general spirit in the fandom of WWE. And by and large, it appears WrestleMania hasn't happened yet, so I'm not saying anything for certain, but it appears to have worked. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson put his ego aside, because we all know this was an ego play, let's be honest, and seems to be, and has even confirmed now, is doing what the fans wanted him to do.
They
He is
kayfabed it,
he is
though.
not. I'm going to get into that. He is not going to take that spot. Cody is going to get his main event that he deserves, and he does deserve it. And hopefully we're going to finish Cody's story here at WrestleMania 40, which is perfect storytelling, by the way, because it's in Philadelphia, and he's called the American Nightmare, and he always comes out decked in full-on American garb. So that's kind of great storytelling, if you ask me. But yes, they did kayfabe it. So what they did, how did they correct this problem? Cody puts out a tweet, and he says, look, guys, I love the passion. God bless everybody. But trust me, tweet's huge, 100 and some thousand, 150,000 likes, whatever it is. Then we get this announcement that they're going to do this big press conference to announce, put official,
Super Bowl
what matches
related.
will be, yes, in Las Vegas, right, during the week of the Super Bowl. What matches will be official at WrestleMania? They're going to make the main event here, which, as you see, this has now been made official. But we all thought, or the fans all thought, that what they wanted us to think at this time was that The Rock and Roman were going to come out, have their whatever, their face off, and set the match up, regardless of how much the fans were chanting "Rocky sucks" because they didn't want it. But that's not what happened. Instead, they had Seth Rollins, who's the other world champion, come out. He cuts a little promo, does his little talk. Then Roman comes out, interrupts him, and basically dismisses him and tells him he's trash. And then he decides, because he's the bad guy and he's the arrogant 3-year champion, he says, Cody had his chance to pick. I'm going to pick now because I'm the champion and I get to make that decision. And I pick The Rock. Huge boos, chorus of boos all throughout this little stadium that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
A few thousand people showed up to this free press event. Rock comes out, walks around the stage a little bit, and you can tell by the look on his face, he's either actually bothered by the reception or he's working. Well, we come to find out, obviously, he's working.
Yeah.
But he goes in, they do their little thing, he does his little promo, he calls out what he calls the Cody crybabies, which is a very heel thing to call them. He goes on about his family and Roman's family and how they're, he puts up this big graph of what he calls the bloodline.
Grandpa.
And it shows basically every member of the family, the family tree. Not everybody. There was a few omissions, which was interesting. But by and large, everybody was up there. And then him and Roman shake hands, and The Rock says, this main event's the biggest main event in WrestleMania history, and it's bound in blood. And Cody comes out. Before that, though, he mentioned the word. See, Cody Rhodes, his entrance music, Chester, you probably don't know this. I don't know if you've ever heard it. But his entrance music starts with, wrestling has more than one royal family. Referring to the Rhodes, of course.
Yeah.
The Rock says, and he looks up at the little thing, the big graphic they have on the screen, and he says, this is the only royal family in wrestling, in professional wrestling. He actually used the word professional wrestling, which I found interesting because I don't think I've ever heard The Rock say that term out like at a WWE event. So that was interesting that term's allowed to be uttered by such a mainstream stage. Anyway, this is the only royal family in wrestling. Roman and him do their handshake. Cody, you hear somebody in the back say, wait a minute, hold on. Cody comes out, no fanfare for Cody as far as like he doesn't get his entrance, he doesn't get his music, none of that. And he says, this is bullshit. Literally says, this is bullshit. Cuts a nice promo on everything that happens, and then says, and I will be challenging Roman Reigns. I've made my decision. I'll be challenging Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. This pisses Roman off. He starts cutting a promo on him, talking all this mess. And Cody says, this is what sets the whole thing off to the next level. Cody says, you had those names up there. He looks at Roman, he says, if your grandfather was still alive, And he looks at The Rock and says, if the High Chief was still alive, because his grandfather was High Chief Peter Maivia, he would be ashamed of you. Is exactly how he says it, with that much emphasis. Roman doesn't respond. He just drops his mic because he's, obviously upset that he went there on him. And The Rock walks up, cuts a little promo talking about, if you talk about his family, you're talking about my family, and then slaps Cody right in the face.
Mhm.
As Cody gets, they do a pull apart type situation.
Of course.
Seth, the other champion, comes up and actually seems to defend Cody, which there's a whole history between them. They've had multiple matches. They're not typically friends. And he basically starts cussing The Rock out. I don't know where this came from. I think it might have been a little bit of a work shoot action. Like he was kind of letting his real feelings come out.
Maybe.
And he's like, he basically told him to go fuck himself. He doesn't get to do whatever the fuck he wants just because he's on the board. And The Rock goes, yes, I do. It actually was pretty funny the way he said it. You'd have to hear it. And then Seth gets, shuffled off. Cody gets shuffled off. And The Rock and Roman are left standing on this stage together. And eventually a video comes out of them leaving together. So apparently they've decided what's best for business is for The Rock to turn heel, join the bloodline, join with Roman, and try and stop Cody from finishing his story. Which is brilliant, by the way. That is exactly the best for business thing you could do.
Yeah.
And the reason why people didn't really want this match is because WWE has spent 2 years telling Cody's story along with the Bloodline story. Both have been going together at the same time.
Yeah.
Cody's story has a very definitive end. He said it night one when he showed up on Raw. He has to get the WWE Championship because he can't give it to his father because his father's dead, but he can put it around his own waist, which is the next best thing. That's his whole goal for 2 years now. That's all he's wanted. He won the Rumble last year and lost at Mania because of shenanigans, and now he won it again. He's only the fourth person to go back to back at the Rumble, win 2 years in a row. And all that's to say, they were telling a story, and the fans were like, no, we want this story to finish before you start writing a new one. Before you finish the Bloodline storyline, we want Cody's story to finish. A lot of us were pissed last year that it didn't finish last year like we thought it was going to. And we were hoping that this would be the year that it was, it was made right, if you will. We were willing to give you one more year to tell the story, but we're not willing to give you another one. So this is the year you have to make good on your promise. Because what a lot of people don't understand, when you tell a story correctly, what you're doing to your audience is you're making them a promise. You see. Now, you're not promising them necessarily that it's going to have a good ending. You're not promising that it's going to be a happy ending, but it has to have an ending. You have to be going somewhere. Or what am I doing? Why am I spending my time on your story if it's just a road to nowhere? It's just an endless road to nowhere. I'm invested in nothing, and my time was wasted, and I'm disrespected. Remember how I said what made me upset was the disrespect? Just remember how I started saying that's why I got so angry. It's not even about wrestling. If I could stop watching wrestling tomorrow and by and large my life wouldn't change, I've done it. It's not about the wrestling itself, it's the disrespect.
Yeah.
You don't tell me you're going to tell me a story and then just be like, nah, we're not going to now. Well, like if he got hurt or something, or there was some extra, some circumstance outside their control, that's fine. But that didn't happen. That's not what happened. Well, so, go ahead.
Well, no, to be honest, when this Roman guy came out years and years ago, immediately I knew they were going to try to do something with it because they named him Roman Reigns.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, they were going to do something, long term with this fella. But I do have Grimlock and I have 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question number 1: did they darken Roman on this poster?
Yes.
Because I don't remember him being anywhere near this dark.
He might just have a tan, but yes.
Nah, I feel like they darkened him.
He does look a little darker than usual.
Black versus white.
What's funny, it's Roman is almost just as much white as Cody is. Roman is like a quarter
very
Italian.
Light-skinned fella, yeah. Yeah, interesting. And our second question, which I think is very important. One of the things that was said last week, I think I said it, was that maybe the solution will be having a tag team match in the WrestleMania, and not a one-on-one. You think that's what
Mhm.
they're building up here?
Well, we have 2 nights for WrestleMania. There's 2 main events at every WrestleMania now. There's night 1 and night 2 because WrestleMania became so big, it was like a 7-8 hour show, and that's just outrageous. Like nobody wants to spend on literally a whole day watching wrestling. That's too much, and the crowd would just be completely burnt out by the end of the show. Um, so they decided separate it 2 nights. One, you get to sell for 2 different shows, so you double your revenue, and 2, it allows the crowd to stay awake. Basically, they don't get worn
Right.
out. Um, so they separated it 2 nights. I think that was the right decision. So now we have 2 main events. We have night 1 main event and night 2 main event. Some people think that they're going to build to a tag match, like you said, Cody and Seth versus Roman and The Rock, for night 1's main event. The problem with that is aside from the fact that these guys clearly have animus, what's the stakes? You're going to put this in a main event of WrestleMania. Something's got to be on the line other than just they don't like each other, in my opinion. Right? You got to have some kind of stakes here. You could it could be, if you really wanted to get crazy, it could be Cody's main event shot. If he loses, he doesn't get his match. They could do something like that if they're going to do a tag match, but they're going to have to lay that out.
Right.
They're going to have to
Well, I
make a
mean,
case for why
you
this
don't
match needs to
have
happen
to.
there.
The Ultimate Warrior showed up in all kind of big things, and all he really was interested in was chewing on ropes.
Yes, but that's a different time. Nowadays, I don't think they'd be able to get away with it. I think people would be pissed, especially considering they have a stacked roster of people who are super over, who could use that main event spot. So if they're going to waste it on a tag match for nothing other than just to have a tag match, that would be last year's night 1 was for the tag team titles. So they've had a tag match there before, so there's precedent there. But it was for the tag team titles, right? The champions had been champions for years. It was a big thing. They finally got beaten. Da 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 da.
Well, maybe
Here's
they
what I
go on
think
a
they're building
tear and
for.
they take the 2 tag team belts.
They could.
Each
They
group.
could. That would be interesting. Here's what I think is going to happen, though. I think they are building everybody in that press conference there,
Mhm.
because of the way they interacted and because Seth stood up for Cody. I think they are building towards a match, but I think it's going to be Seth and The Rock, maybe with Drew in there as a triple threat for the World Heavyweight title. The only
Oh, I
reason I
see.
think this is because CM Punk was allegedly supposed to be the main event of night 1, him and Seth, for the World Heavyweight Championship, but Punk got hurt. In the Rumble, he tore his tricep, so he's going to miss Mania.
I
Uh,
see.
so I think that could be what they're building towards, and I think that would be a lot better for The Rock. Just the same reason why a tag match would be better for him, because he doesn't have to be in there the whole time. He can catch his breath, get a rest. I mean, he is 52 years old or whatever, 51, 52 years old, and he hasn't done this in a very
It's
long
my
time. So
age.
it's not
We
like
have
he's
plenty of breath.
so it's not like he's in ring shape. You know, he hasn't been there putting in the hours, putting in
That's
the
fair.
work there. So protecting him by making sure he doesn't have to have this long singles match where he doesn't really get a chance to catch his breath is a good idea. You can either do that with a tag match or a triple threat by 2 workhorses like Drew and Seth are 2 of their best workers, who can carry the match, and then The Rock can come in for his spots that he needs to come in for. And I would, if they were going to do that, I would have The Rock win. I would have The Rock walk out of night 1 with the World Heavyweight Championship, and then you could close the first night of WrestleMania with The Rock and Roman both having a world title, standing in the ring. They have all the power. So that way, night 2, when Cody and Roman happens, Cody's even more against the wall, right? He's going against this group that has both world titles. They're the most powerful group there is, and you see what I mean? It puts the stakes against Cody even more. Puts the odds even outside of his favor even more.
Grimlock wants to know if you think they'll unify the belt in this scenario.
I hope not. The reason that World Heavyweight Championship exists at all, it was created last year, a brand new title, brand new world title. It does not have the lineage of the other World Heavyweight Championship. Roman has that with his belt. Was because Roman had both titles. Roman had both the WWE and Universal Championships. And they unified that into one belt, the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And now Roman still has both those belts, but it's just the one title that you see there now.
Right.
And so they made this new title because they needed a champion who's, there. Right? They needed somebody to be on the show because Roman only works so many days a year. So they came up with this new title, put it on. Seth won it. Seth's had it the whole time. And I don't think they need to unify them. I don't see the purpose of that.
Grimlock
Personally.
disagrees.
Does he? Does he? Because I don't hear him.
We have a connection, you see.
Oh, mental connection. I
Yes,
see.
it's called lying.
You know what?
Yes. Now, if they do it, I'm not going to be mad about it per se. It's not going to be like, fuck this. It's not that situation. But I would prefer they didn't. I think if you're going to have the 2 world titles, have them. Stop unifying them, because then just what are we doing? That's silliness. But I would prefer if they just had one, because it makes more sense to have one top championship, whatever you want to call it. They should have, and they do. Roman has the top championship, even though they pretend they're on the same level. They're clearly not. But I think, at least I hope that's not the plan. But I have heard rumors that was going to be Cody's consolation prize for giving up his Mania main event to The Rock.
Right.
Was they were going to have him get the World Heavyweight Championship somehow, some way, and have a match with Roman at SummerSlam to unify the belts.
Right.
Well,
I just.
The reason why I like the idea of The Rock getting the World Heavyweight Championship, because like I said, that title was literally just created last year. It has no lineage. It is a brand new title. It could really use a legend like The Rock holding it for a while.
Yeah,
that would really help its legitimacy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was slightly distracted. I have a freshly washed woman in yoga pants just walking in the room.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I like
She's
that.
making me coffee.
Better when they're freshly washed.
Yes. Well, she came in sweaty a minute ago.
But yeah, it looks like The Rock
either
put aside his ego, or we all got worked. That is a possibility.
Yeah.
And did what's right. But what I think it was is I think it's a little bit of both. I think Triple H and The Rock are, they've known each other a very long time. Triple H is in charge of creative.
Well, you left out the Triple H moment with Rock.
Oh, I'll get to that in just 1 second. That's where I'm going. The reason why I think it's a little bit of both is that moment that happened. Triple H and The Rock have known each other a very long time. They were great rivals. They had a great rivalry back in the day, but obviously they really hate each other. So I think they both understand this business at a level most people don't. Sure. They've been at the absolute top during the hottest era in the history of WWE, which this era is catching up on, by the way, numerically. So they understand this business in a way most do not. So what I think they were doing is they were testing the waters. They knew that it was going to be backlash to Cody getting snubbed. I don't think they thought it was going to be like this. I don't think anybody expected Rocky sucks chance. I don't think anybody expected that. Even Cody clearly didn't expect that, because when it happened, he was like, oh, he was a little uncomfortable. He was like, oh, shit.
Right.
So I don't think they expected it to be to this level. So what I think Triple H did, because he is a very smart storyteller and booker, he left himself outs if they needed to pivot. One of those outs is Cody winning the Royal Rumble. That's why Cody won the Rumble. So if this didn't work, if this plan of his didn't work, if the plan that they had set out didn't work, and the people turned on it, they could pivot and do what's right and do what's best for business. This idea, a lot of people think because of The Rock's movies where he's never played a bad guy really, he won't play a bad guy. That's clearly untrue. He's been a bad guy in WWE, right? For years at certain points.
His whole persona was a bad guy.
He's most of his time, yeah.
Uppity, mouthy jack-off. I mean, that's The Rock.
Yes. So I think people expected, because he's a movie star, because of this, he was going to have XYZ demands. He probably did, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, I do think, no matter what people think, and I've said some things too, but the reality is, I think Dwayne Johnson truly does love professional wrestling.
Oh yeah,
because he came back when the Cena match, he absolutely didn't have to do that match. This match, I'd say, this run here is actually reeks of a little bit of desperation from him, if we're being completely honest, because his career's kind of in the toilet in Hollywood. So he's coming back now to try and rehab, some goodwill. But 10, 12 years ago, when he did the Cena match, he didn't need any of that. He was absolutely the biggest star in the world. That's not even debatable. That was him saying, yes, I actually do still love this place. I still love it. I just have, bigger fish to fry, basically.
Oh, sure.
So I don't doubt for a second that Dwayne Johnson loves wrestling. He grew up in it. I mean, he was at from basically the
Made
time he
his
was a
life,
very
dude.
small child.
Made his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
So
just understand that Grimlock says that down with Mia Mana Mana Pia. Okay.
There will be no lies
Uh.
told on my behalf, and this man is clearly lying.
yeah, but I have to give him credit. The Rock came out there to work when the crowd started doing what chants at him, because that's the thing they do. Thanks to old Steve Austin. He
Yeah.
worked it.
What?
He played into it. He played right into it. Let him do their little what chants. I was not expecting that. I was surprised that he showed up to work. Is my point.
Yeah.
Dwayne wasn't there just to get smiles and to get pops and to make himself feel good, which all his other appearances had basically been. He was there to work, and that's what he did. And it was fantastic from beginning to end. Everybody involved, beautiful. Now the part you're talking about, Triple H. So they're doing a little backstage interview with Triple H. The interviewer is asking him some questions. Dwayne, old Dwayne Poo, and Roman come
Cussing.
walking up, dropping all kinds of cuss words about Cody and talking about his family. And he said, "If you don't handle that shit, we're gonna fix it. So fix it." Basically, is what he said. And then as he walked away, he said, "If he talks about our family again, I'm gonna knock his fucking teeth out." That's what he
Right.
said. They bleeped it, of course, because it's WWE. But and Triple H was, you're out of line. You shouldn't, calm the hell down. Is all he said. But yeah, and then they walked away. Roman said something about "You're lucky we're here," I think is what he said, but he said it real quietly. And they've decided. They said, "Okay, this isn't going to work, but what will work? We got to turn Rock. You got to work heel. You got to be corporate Rock, right? You haven't been corporate Rock in a very long time, but that's who we need. We need corporate Rock, who thinks he can get away with anything because he's on the board and basically a Mr. McMahon type character."
Yeah. Take over. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what we're going to see and what's already started to happen, if you watch that press conference, it happened right there. He's going to slowly overshadow Roman and try and quite literally take over everything and take everything from Roman. And whether or not they, most likely what they'll end up doing is have him basically succeed at this and somehow screw Roman out of his match with Cody. Cody's going to win clean, but here's what I think is going to happen at WrestleMania. You'll have a segment in the back with the Bloodline guys, with The Rock there and Roman there, and they'll be hyping up Roman basically, and they'll be, go kick his ass, go end this, blah 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 blah. Roman will walk off, or Rock and the other guys will walk off, and then The Rock will tell them, "Hey, stay back, don't go out there." Behind Roman's back, Roman won't see this, right? So he goes out to the match thinking they got a plan, right? We're going to handle this business, and then he loses. These guys never show up. And there you go. There's your storyline going forward. The Rock sabotaged Roman, basically, sabotaged his plan, and you go from there. The whole point of this is eventually to get Roman a W over The Rock, and maybe even Cody too. We'll see. So they need to give. By doing this, we're going to actually get a story here. This is why it's such a brilliant move. Why they did everything perfectly. They're going to have time now because, as far as I know, The Rock is he's on the board. So he's got, forever basically to tell this story, but most likely he's signed up for, as far as a talent, for at least a year to do work from between now to next WrestleMania. So they've got plenty of time to actually build a proper narrative instead of just doing, "Hey, Rock versus Roman, that's a big marquee match," and it is absolutely. We get an actual full-on story out of it that they can build a narrative of over the next year or so. And that will make that match even bigger. Because as we've seen, Triple H, for all of his faults, is a master at long-term storytelling. He is the best I've ever seen in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
ever.
It could have been at work from day one, My wife
absolutely.
is eating disgusting food. No kisses for you, woman.
It absolutely could have been work from day one. I think, like I said, I think it was a little bit of both. I think they knew they had two options here, and because it didn't make sense why Cody won the Rumble, right? That didn't make any sense. If they were going to do this, and they already knew they were going to do it back in January, like before the Rumble, from what I understand, why would you have Cody win the Rumble then? It just makes him look like a chump, right? He wins the
No,
Rumble
that's
and then
true.
just doesn't go finish his story. What? So the only way that makes sense is
To reintroduce Rock into the storylines.
that, and because they also knew that they needed a pivot. They needed to have the option of a pivot,
Yeah,
and that
maybe.
gives them an option
That's
of a
true.
pivot.
But, the thing with Rock, I mean, seeing him retire and taking kind of Vince McMahon's role in wrestling going forward, that makes a lot of
That'd be
sense,
awesome.
dude. Makes a lot of
That'd be
sense.
awesome.
It would be.
He'd be better at it than Vince was.
And
He'd be phenomenal.
he
at
would
that.
be, in a way, although you can't take away from what Vince built, though.
No.
But the thing with The Rock is his movies aren't hitting like they used to, and he isn't getting any
Nope.
younger, dude.
Nope.
So
He's
where can he
he's
land?
your
Well,
age.
this is where he can land. Yeah, he's my age. And
He's got the board seat. He's got a bunch of stock now. He's got his what we're gonna call it. We're gonna call his landing pad. It's laid
Yeah.
out for him. WWE ain't going anywhere. They're part of a major conglomerate now. They're set. So he's got his nice little landing pad, his eject button whenever he's done in Hollywood, which could be sooner rather than later because his movies just aren't hitting like they
no,
used
they're
to.
not
Like you said.
hitting recently. I think people have a little bit of a overdose of The Rock, to be honest with you. But
Yep.
it's cool that he has a place to fall back onto. It's a place that made him, right? But
Yeah.
nevertheless,
Well,
we'll
and
see.
he's had about a 20-year career in Hollywood. I mean,
He
that's
has,
pretty
yeah.
good.
He
Like,
has.
that's pretty good.
WrestleMania is what, July?
No, WrestleMania is in April.
April? Really?
April. Yep.
Oh, that's right. SummerSlam is in the summer. That's right.
SummerSlam's in August, yeah, or sometimes late July, but usually August.
They don't got a lot of time to work this out. They only got a couple of months then.
They'll get it. They'll get it figured out, I think.
Yeah.
I think what this signals is the Vince era is over. And when the
Obviously.
audience is incredibly loud and incredibly behind somebody, they're going to try and go with them as much as they can.
And I think
And that's a
wrestling
good thing.
fans are kind of sick of the nonsense. Like they ran Cena way too long. They've run
Yep.
Roman way too long. And
Yep.
they're not listening to the fans. They keep doing it over and over and over again. I think the fans are just fed up.
Yeah. Oh, I know we are. 100%.
Yeah.
Cena drove me away for years. The only reason I came back, I've said this before, was when CM Punk started getting hot because he was basically just saying things to Vince, right to Vince's face that everybody was thinking. That's what got him over so big, is he was just calling him a piece of shit right to his face, basically.
Right.
And it worked. It worked. It made him over for life. He's one of these guys who there's never a time he'll stop being over unless some terrible allegations or something come out against him. But we've had, let's see, Cena's run was about 15 years. Good 10 of that was at the very top of it. And Roman's been going about 10 years now, too.
Yeah.
Now, they did pivot with Roman because Roman wanted to pivot, largely, away from his super face, big dog character to what they're doing now. And what they're doing now has absolutely worked on every metric because it's
That's
more
cool.
like who Joe actually is. He's
Yeah, but
actually a really
Cody's-
laid-back guy.
Cody's still making selling the product though, isn't he?
Cody is going to be the one to benefit from that pivot more than anybody because Roman's storyline with the bloodline is what had drawn for years, even during the pandemic, what was keeping them afloat. And then also, obviously, they started drawing huge houses and things again. But it was largely due to Roman's storyline. And then Cody came back, and he's been pretty much hot since day one, since he walked back into that company. And he has been absolutely the guy. Even Triple H said it at the was it the Royal Rumble or one of them? He said Cody is absolutely the guy. It's not even a question. He's the guy. He sells all the he moves
Right.
all the needles. He's our guy. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but one of the wrestlers' widows, who she was working in AEW and stuff, she put out a tweet talking about how cool Cody Rhodes actually is as a man. And this was actually very interesting because she didn't have to do this, obviously. But basically, after her husband died, Cody knew him. Cody was friends with him, and Cody knew his son, one of his, well, all of his children, but especially one of his sons. So what Cody did the day after Christmas, drove 5 hours to come spend Christmas with this kid and be the one to be there with the mom because he was one of his favorite wrestlers, to tell him that his dad was going to die, or that his dad had died, or whatever. Um, and then he spent the rest of the day with the kid, just took him to the beach, playing with him, trying to take his mind off of it. And ever since that day, he has taken time out of his obviously very busy schedule. He's at the top of the biggest company in the world for wrestling, to make sure that this kid and some of his other wrestling buddies, they go, and all the kids, all of his siblings, but especially this kid, they go and have a special day just for them. So they usually go to Disney World or whatever.
That's nice.
And
A lot of
she
wrestlers do
shares that
charity shit.
story. Yeah, but this one was even more personal because obviously Cody, he never talked about any of that stuff. He wasn't doing it for anything other than because wrestling has a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Wrestlers,
Yeah, it's family.
they get real close to each other. And so it's just basically the point of her story was this is absolutely the type of guy you can root for. He's absolutely the type of guy you can have at the front of your company. He's absolutely, it's not just a character. He actually is a good guy. Whereas Cena is mostly just a character. He's doing it for publicity. All these things he does is to make himself a bigger brand.
No, he's the
And I don't
modern Hulk Hogan, right?
Yes, I don't think Cody's like that. Obviously, he does that stuff too because part of the job. But I think Cody is one of those actually decent humans, genuinely, who would just do it because it's the right thing to do. Like after he loses his main event, allegedly, the next house show that they had was literally the next day, and he stayed until they literally kicked him out of the building, signing autographs, just hanging out with the fans, signing autographs. Anybody who wanted one.
Well, he knows where his
Most
bread
of the
is
guys
buttered.
don't do that. Yeah.
And
But my point is this is the type of guy you want at the top of your company. If you're going to have a company that needs a face, that's what you want. You want the guy who actually wants to be there.
And if Vince
he actually
McMahon
loves it.
is actually out, that's a good news for the Rhodes, without question.
Yeah, Vince is
clearly
gone.
Vince doesn't like him. But this poster is still kind of on my mind. I mean, look how black his ear got because of the darkening they did. But also look at it's very interesting. Roman is angry. Cody is determined.
Yes, very good storytelling there.
Yeah, it's a good job. Anyway,
yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy wrestling is good again, almost great. We'll see what happens. This Mania is very important for me, and I think to a lot of fans because they're real close to having a genuine great era again, and they have to land it. It'd be like
they got a huge
back in the day. Yeah, back in the day when Stone Cold was the hot act and he had his Mania main event with Shawn Michaels. If they had done anything other than Stone Cold winning that match, it would have destroyed all the momentum Austin had going in. Right? It would have just been a really dumb. That's where we're at right now.
And then you wouldn't have The Rock anyway.
Right. Yep.
Right.
He probably would have ended up just some guy.
The Rock.
Yes. Yeah. He was built to be a foil to Austin. That was literally his character for the first. After he got out of the Nation of Domination, that was his whole character. He was corporate Rock.
Yeah,
his job was to be the foil.
Rocky role, Rocky Manapia, whatever his name was.
Yeah. Just feels good.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. They hated him. Fans hated him.
He sucked. He didn't have his shtick.
He hated the Rock.
It didn't have his shtick. But no, it'll be fun. It'll be cool to see. I'll have to go do a little catch up here to enjoy it. But I'd certainly
recommend.
happier to enjoy this than some stupid Super Bowl when they're all their woke crap.
Yes. So, that's the thing. That's the other thing about WWE. It does have its moments of wokeness, like you said. It does have a lot of chicks on its roster. It also does a lot of like Black History Month stuff.
Yeah.
And whatever. But the product itself isn't altered dramatically just to fit into some racial nonsense, right? Or whatever. They don't have men and women really fighting each other, even though there's been pressure on them to do that more. And they just out and out said, no, we're not. That's stupid.
So I do have a question for Grimlock.
Yep.
Grimlock, what exactly do people talk about in Black History Month?
I don't know. I don't celebrate that bullshit.
Oh. Sorry,
you're asking the wrong
that's
black
his
man.
white side speaking out.
I couldn't tell you.
From what I gather, because I again not black, so I don't have any festivities. But from what I gather, the blacks that I've heard say that they dislike it. They say they dislike it because they end up just celebrating the same like 15 people
Well, that's what I
talking about
mean.
them, and then
Who you gonna
everything else
celebrate?
just gets forgotten.
Martin
Yeah.
Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson
Yep.
Mandela, all of them shitheads.
They don't celebrate Malcolm. They should, but they don't.
Well, Malcolm at least had a proper intellectual turn at the end, but that's why they killed him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't know what there is, because I mean, Denzel. I like Denzel. I can
Yep.
celebrate Denzel. We
Denzel
bring
seems
in
like a
no,
good
you know
dude.
what you
Too.
do for Denzel on Black History Month? You bring in Christopher Walken and he does a dance with a cowbell.
Why?
Because
One
Christopher
last thing on
Walken
this
is
wrestling.
is the Black Whisperer. Didn't you know this?
No.
Although Peter Griffin is the king of the blacks, though.
That is true. He
That
is
is true.
confirmed. He had
He is
the ribbon and everything.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the
One
sash,
last
but,
thing on
all
this
right.
about The Rock. Yes, Sash. One last thing about this with The Rock is recently he responded on Twitter to some doofus who was going in about various things, and he was saying that the fans at this press conference were chanting Maui at him because of the what's the word I'm looking for? Not conspiracy. The controversy around him and Oprah's Maui fund for the big fire that happened.
I thought it was talking about
And that's
Moana.
well, that's neither here nor there. That was an absolute lie. Just a lie. That was an abject lie. There was no fans chanting Maui, Maui, Maui at this press conference. They were chanting Cody, 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 not Maui, Maui, Maui. Uh, and The Rock responded to it because he said this is just an outright lie. And then he went off and, he confirms in there that he turned heel. So he kind of broke kayfabe a little bit. And then defended, well, completely, I'd say, and then defended his charity work, claiming, I don't know how true it is, but this is his claim, that the people of Maui have already been paid out, thousands of people have been paid out from a $50 million fund that he and Oprah set up with the help of others, obviously.
I mean, it's probably true. I mean, he is Polynesian, Huh?
He lives in Hawaii.
Yeah.
He actually lives there.
So, I mean, he probably wants to help the people of Lahaina.
Here's what's probably happening, if there are people who haven't got their money, it's not got anything to do with him. When we can shit on him for the way they presented it, it was stupid and it was really bad PR.
Well, it's
but
Oprah.
It's almost certainly the government of Hawaii being corrupt as hell because it is.
They are super corrupt, dude. I could tell.
And they're holding the funds back. Yeah, it's bad over there. So most likely it's stuck in some fund over there, some bank basically, and they're just not releasing the funds.
They are wicked corrupt, dude. Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rock's almost a billionaire. I don't think he needs to worry about someo's $50 million. Let's be honest.
No, I'm sure
he's doing
like
all right.
He is. Rock does charitable stuff. I mean, he's not a complete asshole. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, don't get me on Hawaii.
Let's move on.
It'll take a long time. This is interesting, and Grimlock will have an opinion on this. I know.
Here we go. Rumor. Marvel. Oh, he will. Marvel Studios now planning a Ghost Rider movie, and they want to cast an A-list actor.
Grimlock, who do you think they want? Who do you think they want? Who do you think?
I don't care. I don't want them. I don't want them fucking up Ghost Rider.
Right. I mean, we already had a perfect Ghost Rider anyway. My boy.
No. It wasn't.
It was perfect.
He's already been fucked up twice.
That's true.
Well, the second one wasn't great, but the first one, there was some love in there. There was a little bit of love in there, dude.
Technically, you could say he's been fucked up 3 times if you count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I didn't mind was it Reyes? Was that the kid's name?
The changing of the origin. Look, I know I'm gonna sound like one of those fucking anal comic nerds, but that is not how that fucking works with the Spirit of Vengeance.
No,
it's
you're
never
right.
been,
You're
especially when it comes to Blaze, because there's been constant stories about Blaze either giving up the spirit of vengeance or having it taken from him and he has to get it back
Right.
because it is his curse.
Johnny Blaze.
And then
Yeah.
and then in fucking Agents of Shield, he just hands it off willy nilly to a no, it was
Right.
fucking retarded.
No, they should have. You're right. They should have passed it on better. I don't mind there being a new Ghost Rider though, because that is tradition. And I didn't mind the
Here's
idea
the
of the
thing.
Latino
They're
kid
gonna
in the
skip.
car. I thought it was kind of
Here's the
cool.
thing. Here's the thing. One, they're gonna skip straight to Robbie Reyes because it's Marvel Studios.
No, I don't think
That's
they
one.
are, but okay.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will.
Well,
I told people.
I
I
have
told
a
people years in
surprise
advance.
article.
I told people years in advance about Black Panther that they was going to find a way by the second movie to make Shuri the Black Panther, and they got a gift. They got a gift that Chadwick died,
They
but they
did.
was going to do that anyway.
The bastards. Yeah,
They're
that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Roger's
even
correct. We have the
even
perfect Ghost Rider. His name is Nicolas Cage. You're right.
no no we have not really got.
No, you're right.
There's things about the first movie that I liked.
Yeah,
Genuinely,
but dude, they
I
don't
still
have the
watch.
Hang
balls
on.
to do Ghost Rider, dude. They don't have the balls.
Hang on a second though. Nicolas Cage, you know who he would actually been great as? Mysterio.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I could see that. Yeah,
He
was
would have
an
killed
amazing
Mysterio,
fella.
bro.
Yeah. But now it's interesting you mentioned Reyes. Like I said, you're right. They didn't handle it correctly, but I didn't mind the Reyes character in the car and stuff. It's not a bad idea.
I didn't mind some of Reyes' stuff either until they did what they have done with all the other characters of that era. Oh, now he's the most powerful Ghost Rider. He's more, yeah, really. We've had two Ghost Riders. I mean, even though I hate that they have, I don't know why Marvel has taken so much from Danny Ketch and just given it to Blaze, but Ketch, the original story ends that his spirit, the spirit of vengeance that inhabits Ketch, is the angel of death itself. You're not beating that.
No.
Only the hand of God is beating
Are
that.
you talking about that series that ran 5 years ago or 6 years ago that was like epically awesome, a really good Ghost Rider run?
No. When I'm talking about the original Ketch run of the
Oh, you're
'90s
talking about way
ended
back.
with
Okay.
him. Yeah,
Because they did
that's
have
how.
a
That's how.
cool
That
one.
yeah, that's how that series ended. Then, if you're talking about the one, ironically, probably Jason Aaron, some of Jason Aaron's better work was when the battle over heaven and hell, where he establishes
That was
that
pretty cool, dude.
yeah, where he establishes the ghost. There were ghost riders around the world, but they weren't supposed to know about each other, and that they're actually the works of. They're actually how did they word it? It was agents of heaven. They can only be killed by the hand of God himself or a weapon forged by God
Right.
or another ghost rider.
Well, here's the thing, though. A name has been put forward for who the reboot Ghost Rider will be, and his name is Ryan Gosling.
Do they? The question will be though. There's a reason they'd be using Ryan. Well, obviously because
He's been
Ryan
begging
Gosling.
for it.
'Cause
Keep
he's a
that in
name.
mind. He's been begging for it.
He loves the thematic nature and the character of Ghost Rider. Obviously, he's made many a film in his
He's
more
been
serious
begging for it.
days, which had similar motifs. The question is, do they lean all the way into the meme of Drive and muddle around with who gets what vehicles?
Well,
Because if they have him be Johnny Blaze, like it says here, there's something he's supposed to have. But if they have him be one of the other ones, he could have different. See my question?
right.
Because the MCU is notorious for picking and choosing. They take pieces from this version to this
Right.
version and just
But
kind of
Johnny
jam it together.
rides a motorcycle. End of conversation.
I am aware. That's
but-
my contention. I
but
don't
the-
want them to do that.
Right. Well, I get your point, but the whole conversation about this reboot is around Johnny Blaze, though. not Reyes. And they've got Cohen on board, Sasha Baron Cohen, to play
Oh,
Mephisto.
nope,
What?
nope, not already.
Oh no,
It is a weird
No,
choice.
that is that is
I,
beyond weird.
and I look. I'm not saying that the guy maybe can't do something serious, but just because they just mentioning his name,
I know.
nope.
I agree. I don't like him either. But it is interesting to me that the front runner here is Ryan Gosling, and he loves Ghost Rider. And that's always
Well,
a
who
good
doesn't?
thing, dude. When you have someone who loves the character on board, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
And he
That's
is
good.
hot
But
right
you're
now.
working. Yes, but you're also working for a studio
No, you're
who
right.
has notoriously, because I'm pretty sure you've seen the video that's been circling around that Nerdrotic had put out of all the fucking people who have worked in Marvel for the last 5 or 6 years who said they either did not know any of the source material or was told flat out to not even worry about the source material.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
Ghost
understand.
Rider
No, I
being
get it.
what it is, and you know as well as I do, it is a darker section of the Marvel universe. It's it's a section I've you've heard me bitch about that's underrepresented in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, no,
I have
that's
no
what I mean.
faith.
They don't have the balls. They don't have the balls to do it right.
I have no faith in them to do this right because you're already fucking up Blade. I mean, you're on the fifth rewrite for Blade,
Yeah,
so
and that who knows
you're
what's going to
fucking.
happen with that. No, you're right because I remember way back reading Ghost Rider story, and the setup to get to what was actually going to happen they're going to do over a few comic run, right? He's going to deal with some
Mhm,
big bad, right? But the setup to get his foot into what where they went with it was he came in and was dealing with these child child prostitute white slavery market
mhm,
guys, right? He come in, he just wiped the floor with all of them, and there was a girl who on the of course it's they didn't show it, but it's implied that she's a little girl, but it's implied that she had been very badly abused. She's crying, she's just kind of broken, and he just picks her up and burns her soul out because that's what he thought would be the best for her. That's freaking Ghost Rider, dude.
yes.
They do not play around. It's harsh. And I'd love to see a real Ghost Rider. But we won't get that. The best we're going to
Well,
get is
also,
some bubblegum pop. Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider. It's about the best you're going to get.
because they have fucked up so much of the other parts, one of my favorite team ups is probably never going to happen with the Midnight Suns.
Hmm.
Partially because you've already screwed up Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah.
What you've allowed Sony to make a joke out of fucking Morbius already.
I didn't hate that movie like everybody else. I've watched it twice
It's
now.
not.
Twice even.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
think
It's
hate
not
it.
even that.
pulled in
Yeah, but
by the
here's the
beauty
thing.
of Matt Smith's dancing. I think that's what gets you.
It's known more as a meme now than
I know.
even with the good parts of that movie, it's a meme now. So they've already fucked it up.
Yeah, no, it's not a
Yes.
perfect movie, but I think it's because I'm older. Because that
Yeah.
movie was the director. I don't know if this was the intention of Sony, but the director was doing an homage to the old '60s sci-fi, is what he was doing, and I dug that. I dug that aspect of it, right? But I get it. Yeah, no, I know. Well, we who has faith in anything Marvel these days? We don't. Uh, but I just thought it was interesting because a reboot of Ghost Rider. Oh my God, here we go. And then all of a sudden we're talking about Ryan Gosling. It's like a joke or something. But I don't know. I still I go with the chat. We already have the best Johnny Blaze. His name is Nick Cage. Yeah, bring him back. He's still alive. He
I
ain't
think
dead yet. And he's doing so
I think
every third
Grimlock
movie's
is
good. Every third movie's
I think
good.
Grimlock is sadly 100% correct. We'll get a
Yeah,
Johnny Blaze movie,
but
but
it
it'll
won't
be
be
only
cool.
in service. Well, it won't be cool, and it will be only in service of leading to Reyes, because they don't want to promote any white men and they've made that abundantly clear.
Oh yeah.
Or they'll race swap him, right? Johnny Blaze
And
will
he's
be
not even the
black or
first
something.
Latino fucking Ghost Rider. That's the part that pisses me off the most.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
not even the first one. He's the third one.
Well, you know what they might do is bring Ryan in to do Johnny and kill him off, and then bring in Reyes for the second movie. They might do
That's
something
what I
like
think
that.
exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because-
and they're not going to stick. They're not going to stick to that origin story either of that Robbie's spirit that possesses him and gives him powers of the Ghost Rider, which I still don't understand how this fucking worked. Was his serial killer pedophile uncle Eli? Yeah, let's see. You have the balls to put that in the movie.
Yeah. Well, it's because they don't really get what the Ghost Rider is. He's absolution, right? They don't get that. But anyway, there's that. Speaking of more Marvel stuff, this is something that people are talking about. Deadpool 3 title leaks. Yeah, it sucks. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Thunder.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I do appreciate they finally got him in that damn suit, though.
They did get him in the
that.
yellow one. He's certainly thinned up some, but that's all right. You know, I think he
is.
I love the toupee dude.
He's got to be almost 60 by now, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, he's
getting
old
up
guy,
there.
but he's having fun. He's had fun. Hugh's had some good fun, and he's given us a lot of love, and I got nothing but love for Hugh Jackman. But the title of the movie is Deadpool and Friend.
That's so bad. It's funny.
It's the point.
That is a troll title if I've ever seen it.
I know.
That's definitely Ryan Reynolds' idea. 100%.
He's been banging heads hardcore with Disney, right? Hardcore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because he knows they're retarded, and he would like to make non-retarded things. Thank you.
Right. However, I do have something nice for us. It just came out here in the Super Bowl, and I got it ahead of time.
I got a question.
Did my job.
Do you think if he had creative control
that necklace
and he was allowed to go back and get a do-over, would you want to see him do a do-over of Green Lantern?
Yeah. Because 80% of that movie, 70% of that movie was great.
Yep.
It was the ending that blew.
I agree.
Yeah.
The ending blew, and then the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the tone, but I guess the tenor of that third act was just a mess.
It should have been all about Sinestro doing his thing and going bad. That's what it should have been. And,
they should have just made it. They should have just made it a buddy cop movie. They should have had a very quick intro for him to get into the core, and it should have just been some kind of buddy cop movie with him and one of the other, maybe what's his name, the big guy. Yeah. And that should have been what it was, with then the undercurrent of Sinestro, going bad, slowly turning bad, and maybe you have a big reveal at the end of him, which they did anyway. But you have a big reveal at the end of him, he's turned, and that could have been your movie. It didn't necessarily need a big super villain to handle, because one of the charming things about the modern core, especially, is they're cops. That's what that's all they are. They're space
cops. That's right.
So I think that would have been a better way to set up, because they were trying to turn that into a whole thing, right? They didn't want to just do a one-off, obviously, but they missed the mark because they tried to turn it into something it didn't need to be, and then they bring in Parallax, and what the hell was that?
Yeah, no,
what the hell was that?
You're right. They should have done something with him and Kilowog. That
Kilowog,
would have been a lot of fun. But the simple fact of the matter is that that movie could have been really good. And they just screwed up the third act so harshly that it bombed it. Now, first of all, we have a necklace here, which I want.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
I don't hate that.
I'm going to keep the Wolverine one, and my wife can have the Deadpool one. Love will keep us together. Yeah. But I do have a trailer. Would you guys like to see it?
Let's see it. Hopefully they don't kick us off.
Happy birthday to you.
You look like ass.
All right,
Perfect.
okay. It's been a challenging few years, for sure.
He's wearing a wig.
But I'm happy.
Ah.
That is because of each and every one of you.
Aw.
I'm the luckiest man alive.
Love.
Make a wish, buddy.
She is hot.
She is always hot, dude.
Wade Wilson? Who's asking? Whoa. Is that supposed to be scary? Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
See, you're allowed to do fourth wall breaks.
Well, Deadpool,
yeah.
Wade
Miss Wilson, you
insane.
appear to have soiled yourself while unconscious.
I wasn't unconscious. Who are you? Why am I here?
Walk with me.
They're still pushing this multiverse crap.
You are special. This is your chance
To be a hero among heroes. I smell what you're stepping in, Sensei.
Okay.
Your little cinematic universe is about to change forever.
Oh, dude.
I'm the Messiah.
They're doing Logan.
Damn. Marvel Jesus.
Marvel Jesus.
Whoa!
That's what I mean. I can't even imagine they could actually have done it so easily.
Yeah.
God, I love this part. Wait!
Okay.
Don't just stand there, you ape. Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
There you go.
So they did call
July
it
26th.
Deadpool and Wolverine, so he was trolling. You were right.
Yes.
Yeah. No. All right. Now, now let's talk about this for a second. The first movie was great. I loved it. Right.
It was.
It had some stupid shit
Changed
there, but
Hollywood,
that's the point.
by the
It
way.
did, in a way. Yeah, it allowed our movies, gave us some interesting things. The second one was nowhere near as good.
No.
Although there were some good points.
Yeah, Juggernaut was great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Juggernaut. I liked Colossus in it. I actually enjoyed the Megasonic Teenage Warhead, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Even though it was a woke character, it was done in a funny way.
Yeah.
Right. So I would love for this movie to be badass, but all the noise that Ryan has been making about Disney interference, dude.
Yep. But you know what? I'm gonna tinfoil hat, big brain, wrestling brain. That could be a work.
It could be.
Because everybody knows right now that Disney's the shits. Disney is in a massive PR problem right now. Nobody wants to see them. They're despised. They're not liked. And what would be a great way to get your Disney movie to be successful despite the brand? Say that Disney was tampering with this, that, or another thing, and kind of almost Vince McMahon Stone Cold it, right? Where you've been fighting against Disney this whole time to bring you guys this movie because I love you so much and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It could be a work because Ryan is a master at working. He's been a master at working. So that's why he got Deadpool to begin with. He knows how to work his audience or the audience in general.
Yeah, he made it happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're not because it's Disney. They probably are. It might not. It's probably not. But there is a chance that's a work. And Ryan basically got everything he wanted.
Maybe. Definitely possible. I do love the little clip of him going to Madripoor, thank you, and walking up behind Patch. That was cool.
Yep.
You see that, Grimlock?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool, dude.
Only thing that could have made that better was when Joe fixed it, but the man can dream.
He might be there.
You're right. That would be cool.
He might
we
be
won't
there.
Get that. No, we won't.
We're getting multiverse stuff.
Dude,
he might
we won't
be
get
there.
Joe fix it. They don't own that.
Listen. Who owns it? Disney or Sony? Who's got
Paramount, right?
Universal still owns
Let me check. Who owns Joe Fix?
Universal.
Universal.
Yeah,
okay.
but do they own Joe? Do they own Joe Fix It? They might have rights to the Hulk, but Joe Fix It is technically a different character.
Yeah, I think they do.
I'm
trying to.
I'm pretty sure they own all the
they do. They do.
related to
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
There's
Um,
nothing saying they couldn't have paid him for a cameo. Nothing at all. I'm just saying
well, that's
it's
true.
possible.
That's true. They you could, but I mean, who would play it though? Because the
I mean,
jagoff they
think
got
about
playing
this for
Hulk
a
right now
second.
ain't
Yeah, I
doing it.
don't. Oh God!
Well, it doesn't have to be. It could
Could
just
I
be a
get
full
could I get
CGI.
Ed Norton back as fucking Joe Fix It,
He's got
please?
the
You
proper
please?
attitude. Yeah.
Could get his version of him. Um, because think about this. Remember, Spider-Man was originally not supposed to be able to be in Marvel either, and they made a
Right.
deal
No,
with
you're right.
Sony
You're right.
for
You're
that
right.
one-off to see how it would go, and then after it went well, they moved forward. I'm just saying, there's a possibility. Not saying it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if even if he's just sitting in a corner, just chilling, smoking a cigar or something.
Yeah, and it would be cool
Possibility.
little cameo. You're right, but it would be wink, wink to us and nobody else. Nobody would get it.
I'm okay with that. Damn it, we're supposed to be who they're winking at.
That's
Sons
true.
of bitches.
And to be fair, Ryan gets that. He does get
And
that.
Ryan loves comic books. Loves them too much. I'd say it's a problem. It's a whole issue with him. But he's very keen on Deadpool, especially, but comics in general. Which is why when you asked
Well, it's a
about
perfect
Green
role
Lantern,
for him. Yeah.
about Green Lantern getting another shot at it with actual, yeah, if he had control, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, it would be interesting, and he's a hot product right now. But
Oh, he's a
no, his
billionaire.
witty, snarky manner is perfect for Wade Wilson, dude.
He was born to play Deadpool.
Yeah, he was.
Born to play this character.
And Hugh Jackman, Hugh's going to have nothing but fun with this situation, dude.
Yeah,
Right?
him and Ryan get along really well, so
Yeah.
I bet
Well,
they'll have a great time.
I remember years ago, one of the funniest laugh I ever saw out of my kids, right? And they laughed, and they still laugh about it to this day. There was an animated special, movie that had Deadpool in it, and he's fighting a bunch of these guys, and someone has a sword and cuts his arm off, and the gun in the hand as well, and he goes flying through the air, and he's kind of falling. He's like, "That was my favorite gun." So Deadpool, right? But I'm sure you guys have seen it, but that scene was just
Oh yeah.
perfect. It was funny. My kids laughed so hard at that scene, dude. It became iconic. My son played the Deadpool game when it came out many years ago, and that had a lot of great Deadpool stuff, and it was another project of love that came out.
Yep.
And the thing is, I've seen Deadpool when I was younger. Deadpool was nothing. When I think it was Rob Liefeld, right?
Yeah.
That kind of brought him up, and then he started, but he was still kind of nothing. And honestly, the character's always been hit or miss with me. But when Ryan got a hold of the character and pushed so hard and did all that marketing and worked his ass off to make Deadpool a thing, and then the movie, that's when Deadpool truly blew up, right?
Yep.
Ryan Reynolds did that shit, dude. And honestly, let him do what he wants to do is what I would say, because you can tell in the last movie they interfered. You can see where they interfered, and it was much less interesting than the first one. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree with you. The second one was a major letdown. It's one of the reasons why we didn't really get a third one until now. Um, and it's a shame because Ryan fought so hard for a
He did.
decade
He did
to get
and
that movie
so
made.
clever, man. His marketing
Oh,
was
he's
so
so good.
clever. The Burt
Such good
Reynolds
marketing.
parody was hilarious, dude.
Yep.
Like,
He's such a good marketer outside of Deadpool that he used the money he made from Deadpool and other things to buy a huge portion of that Mint Mobile company, his mobile phone company he owned. And then he eventually, just I think last year, the year before, he sold it to Verizon, I believe, for ridiculous amounts of money. He did that with a couple other companies as well, his cigars and his gin. And he is now, right, I believe, if he's not, he's very close. Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire. And it's all because he is a fantastic marketer. He
Yeah.
knows what his audience wants, and he gives it to them. That's it. That's all marketing is. It's knowing who your audience is and giving it to them.
That's right.
That's it.
And
That's it.
Joshua mentions here in the chat, but I'm not a big fan of the TVA. I know it is comic book lore. I know it. But I'm
Yep.
not a big fan of how they're using it personally. Grimlock, watching that trailer, does anything pop out to you?
Um, Well, besides them allowing Ryan to have what seems like the humor of the first movie, and it seems to be a little on the. Hopefully, I don't know if they're going to go all out as violent as the first movie,
I'd double up.
but
Let Hugh have a proper going out, dude. Let him Matt just cut bodies in half. I mean, that's what I want.
Be nice.
Yeah, and this is the
yeah.
movie to do it. And he was busting Disney's chops several times in that trailer.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He's Marvel Jesus, y'all.
Which that was interesting. In canon, he's special. What does that mean? Is that movie going to explain that, or was that just a throwaway line? Because what does that mean? That we're in TVA land now. We're in timey-wimey multiversal stuff.
Yeah.
So for somebody to be special there, that means something.
Maybe he's
so they're going to have to
unique amongst the
explain.
multiverses.
Yeah, maybe he is the only one like him. He's the
Right.
only Deadpool, which would be make him unique, like you said, make him unique. But
Right.
why? Like they're going to have to explain that. Now, if it was in the comic books, we would know what it is. It's because of Death. Lady Death has chosen him because
Right.
she loves him. Blah blah blah. He
Right.
can't die. Is that where they're going? That some force has chosen. He simply is not allowed to die. It will not permit him to die. It's interesting. That line being in there is very important. They didn't just throw that in there for no reason. That trailer didn't need that line.
Right.
There was absolutely no reason to have it. So there was only in there to get comic book nerds to go, wait a minute, what? Where are we going? What are we foreshadowing here? What are we doing?
And it accomplished that.
It did accomplish
Okay.
that because that's very interesting line. He's special. You're special. What? Excuse me? Because the whole point of the TVA, the whole point of the first Loki is no one's special. There's a billion, million, trillion versions of you, or possible versions of you, infinite possible versions of you. You're not special. The problem is variants that make themselves special. The TVA has to eliminate. That's the whole point of that in the Loki show. So for them to come somebody from the TVA, I'm assuming that guy is, to come right out and say you're special, that means something. They gotta pay that off. They can't Chekhov's gun me here. You can't just lay that on the table and then never touch it again.
Well, in DC Comics, there's a character. I think his name's Ambush Bug.
Yep.
Sure. And he is interesting because he's so annoying that God doesn't want him in heaven and the devil doesn't want him in hell because he's just that annoying. And it's comedic, I get it, but he's therefore he is a true immortal because he will not be allowed into either. And I feel like recently they've been trying to do the ambush bug thing with Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, they rip each other off
They do.
constantly, so probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thing that caught my attention more than anything. Obviously, I like the portrayal of Wolverine because it's much more comic accurate. At least it seems to be. So that'll be interesting. Obviously, Ryan is Deadpool, like I said, made to play that character. The man was born for this. But that line is my biggest takeaway. And he calls himself Marvel Jesus, but what if he actually is? What if some cosmic entity has elected him? Because they've done the TVA, they've done all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they haven't done is any of the actual cosmic. They've mentioned them here or there, but none of them have really shown up. So, I mean, Infinity, I guess, is in somewhere. I think one of the Thor movies or whatever, but it's not really. They haven't really shown up. So, what if? Or no, it was Eternity. What if Infinity shows up in this movie and they explain it instead of, because I don't know if they're going to have Death exist as an actual being. They might, but I don't know why they would decide to do that now after they blew the Thanos story.
Right. Yeah.
So they have to pay that off. If I go watch that movie, which I'm probably not going to because fuck Marvel, but if I do, that'll be the main reason I go, is because I want to know what the hell that means.
Maybe.
What do you mean he's special?
Kansas City won 23-22, by the way.
Wow, what a shocker. Who could have seen them winning coming?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I am stunned. Oh my God, what a swerve! The fuck out of here. Of course they
Right.
did. Taylor Swift's team, of course they won. Get out of here.
Right. I thought we'd end today by taking a look at some of the upcoming movies. And the
Why?
trailers that are showing them because I'm curious if there's anything I want to see. So Deadpool,
Twister,
maybe.
huh?
Wicked, why? I didn't even watch the second of this Planet of the Apes thing. We're
Well, I like the
remaking
Planet of the Apes
Twister.
movies.
Why? I have no idea.
Is it a
The
remake or a sequel? It's called Twisters.
Maybe it's a sequel, but I don't know why. Fall Guy, they did a pure parody comedy. It looks stupid as shit, even though Ryan's in
Yeah.
it. This is a Tubi horror movie. I don't know. Looks like a
Isn't it
bunch.
made by the guy who did Bullet Train, though? The Fall Guy?
I don't know. Maybe that was a fun movie. It had great
Yeah.
pacing. We were lucky.
That was an
No.
instant classic for me. I'll watch that movie the rest of my life. Bullet
Oh
Train's
yeah, it's a
amazing.
good fun movie.
So
It
good.
was fun. Frozen Empire, not interested.
Last Airbender. It looks good.
But
This one looks
got
good.
woke shit in it, dude.
I know, but it looks right, at least. At least
It does look
aesthetically,
good.
it looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's a series, though, isn't it? Not a movie.
I believe so, yeah.
It is serious,
Yeah.
yeah. Super
Cool.
sex, yeah. As if we, maybe we should tone down the sex in the West. Maybe it's a little out of control.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe pull it back.
Yeah,
Pull it
maybe
back
a little bit. Yeah. Inside Out 2, why? The first one bombed.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah,
That's shocking. A shocking development.
it is. Land
of
of
Bad.
Bad. Okay.
Well, that's a good description of that title. That's
Knuckles. Knuckles.
Land of Bad.
Well, look at the title of this movie. First time female director. That's a great
Oh
title.
Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're making a Knuckles. My biggest problem with the Knuckles thing isn't necessarily Knuckles doing things. It's that we don't need it. And if they make too much Sonic verse stuff, it's going to get real saturated and real boring.
But look at this, though. Peter 5'8". Don't know what it is, but look at the headline. Kevin Spacey.
Huh.
Is he out of bad guy prison now?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been,
Well, he was proven innocent, so that might, I don't know if that matters, but, And the fact that, Kevin was being
And Tucker did.
He was being so
and Tucker did. And
what do you say there, Grandma?
And Tucker. No, I'm saying, and Tucker did an interview with him.
Yep.
And Tucker did an interview with him. Yeah, but I mean, Kevin was so belligerent from day one with that I was like, maybe no, right? Because he was too belligerent. You don't come out that hard if you're guilty, right?
That's what's always been shocking to me is when lawyers tell you not to get upset when you get accused of something. And that seems completely just antithetical to what an innocent person should do.
Right.
Somebody accuses you of something vile, I'm not going to be calm about it.
Right.
Well, keep in mind, I was just kind of looking through this, but they're also coming out a new a reboot with Universal of The Bride of Frankenstein. And it sounds like they're kind of doing a Poor Things take on it. And Poor Things is basically, it came out recently. It's got William Dafoe in it, though, Willem. But basically, it's in that movie, he finds a dead lady who has a baby inside. He takes the baby's brain, puts it in the woman's brain, and then she just has she becomes super bratty, and she just has lots of sex with lots of people. That's the whole movie. So it looks like Bride of Frankenstein is going to be super woke and lots of undead sex. Cool.
Great.
Alrighty.
Just what we needed.
Just what we need. Yeah. Dune Part 2, not interested at all. Is anybody? Why are there so many Frankenstein movies? What's going on? You got that one I just mentioned. You got Frankenstein Legacy. You got.
I don't know, Chester. I'm going to tell you right now, as far as Dune goes, I've been hearing from various people who've seen it, apparently, seen early screenings of it, that it's phenomenal.
Dude, the first one was so drab and boring. Oh my god. Give me the original one from the 70s.
Well, I mean, Dune, the story is pretty drab and boring. Let's be honest. The only reason why it's just so massive. It's so massive. There's so much in there that it has to be drab and boring.
I couldn't read those. I couldn't read those books. I've tried it.
It's like the Bible. A lot of it's boring because it's so big. it just is what it is. You can't make a story that huge and not have it have huge parts that are just like, okay, we're doing this now.
Yeah, they do get a little long in the tooth, to be fair, and they go on for
Yep.
literally millennia. The story.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Duncan
Clones of
Idaho
clones of
character comes
clones
back a couple
of
of times, by the
clones.
way.
Yes. It's
You know,
it's too much.
Jason Momoa is
It's too
Duncan
much.
Idaho.
Which I'm actually not against him coming back because he was phenomenal as Duncan Idaho. I loved his Duncan Idaho.
Yeah,
I
he
liked
was
it a lot,
cool.
actually.
Yeah, his bro, because I mean, in the end, Jason Momoa is just a frat bro. I mean,
He's
it's
just
like
a
him
dude.
and
He's just a bro.
yeah, he is. Him and that moron that was a really good actor that came out in he was in a movie with Robin Williams. He was a genius, but he was a janitor.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, and he brought that idiot with him. Who is this? What's his name
Ben.
again? Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck.
Yeah, that guy.
Ben Affleck.
Well, no, he's such a frat bro, right? Just
Oh
like
yeah,
Jason, they're
100%.
frat bros, man.
Well, Momoa.
One of their
at
first
least-
movies was college related.
It
Yes.
was. It was. Yeah.
Yes. Momoa at least is gonna get the chance to play the character he should have played to begin with, and the character he even wanted to play to begin with, which is Lobo.
Yeah,
There's
that
an
would
interview
be
out there of him talking about that.
He's
He
good
said
for
he
that.
thought he was going to be Lobo, and they said, "Oh, there is no Lobo." He's like, "What? Well, who am I playing?" And then they told him, he's going to be Aquaman. He was like, "Well, okay."
Right?
Even he
No,
was like,
money.
"That doesn't make no damn sense,"
the
but
money,
okay.
Yeah, Jason.
That was,
he's a hippie.
Snyderverse.
Yeah.
I like Jason Momoa though. He seems like he seems like he's at least not a complete and total piece of shit. That's all.
No, he's just a hippie. Although he's mad with Amber Heard, though. She caused a lot of trouble for him, man.
Yeah.
Not just with the movie, but with his marriage and shit.
Oh yeah, she messed up his
Yeah.
stuff.
And he didn't even mess around with her, and it still got in trouble because she was just causing trouble.
Imagine that, a psychotic bitch being a problem wherever she goes.
Right. My wife
Crazy.
and my wife was enjoying this morning, Grimlock, the current Britney Spears videos. She's slap out of her mind, dude. She's slap out of her mind. Although, she's 40 something, she still look good though.
She's programming. I'll say this. She's at her home. She's not fucking with nobody.
She ain't hurting nobody. You're right. She ain't
A lot of people are making a big deal about those videos. I'm like, she could be out doing fentanyl, doing zombie shit in the streets. We've seen far worse than that.
Oh yeah. No, we have. No, Lindsay Lohan's a good example. And unlike Haley Berry, who was showing her titties off, drinking wine, and doing the "I'm a feminist" routine up into some treehouse, which is weird. She ain't doing none of that. She's just dancing basically half naked in a weird, creepy way.
Not much different than what she did when she was popular.
Yeah. There's clearly mental issues. The funny thing with that though, and I do need to finish up, dude. Boy, I'm late. But the thing that I find interesting about that, you remember way back when she was with Federline, right? Kevin Federline, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone was blaming him, and he's just a gold digger, and he's causing all the trouble and all that kind of shit. He caught so much flack, if you remember way back, right? Well, the simple fact of the matter is, he's the one that raised their kids. He's been a great dad to them. You see him with his kids all the time, taking them and doing stuff. He ended up turning out to be the actual thing that those kids needed, right?
Yeah,
as he should be.
As he should be. It's just normal what he did. But I'm just saying, if you remember all the flack he was getting, in the end, he got the good.
He got trashed.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, of course, because he's a dude.
Because he's a dude. Yeah, but he did it. He did right by those kids, man. He did right by those kids. And keep in mind, she ain't seen those kids in years, dude. But yeah, whatever. That's nothing here or there. That's just this. It's really sad, is what it is. Kind of like Madonna. It's pretty sad. Nevertheless, we are at the end of the show. I got Mr. Miracle here. How you doing, dude?
I'm good. I'm good. It's my 13th anniversary today. So.
Of what?
Oh, happy anniversary!
of being married.
Oh, marriage.
Another
Oh.
13.
Another numerical 13. Yes.
That is a lot of 13s on
A
this.
lot
On
of
this.
13s.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
211. Up.
Hmm.
Weird.
Well,
There's some weird shit
Strange.
going on today, Chester. Is all I'm
Weird shit.
saying.
Yeah.
Weird 13 numerology is
I
happening.
don't have any 13s going on. I've been
Well,
married
you're in the
28
wrong
years.
side of the world.
That's
What do you
true.
want from me? I can't help you.
My wife's
But it
still
is
looks good in
interesting.
yoga pants, though.
That's good.
happy
That's
So
that's
does
how you know
mine.
you've won. That's
My
that's
wife
how you
still
know.
looks good in yoga pants as well.
Dude.
Yeah.
You and me, bro.
That's what you want.
You and me, bro. All right.
That's what you want right there.
That is what you want. Yeah.
His wife is like an Amazon. She's like 9 feet tall. It's outrageous how tall she is.
9 feet. She's tall.
She's tall. She's tall as me. Same height as me. What was I
She's
gonna say?
taller than me when she puts on high heels.
It's interesting how many 13s there are, though, Chester. We started talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
And here we are again. There's another one. It's his 13th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Today is literally a 13, 211.
The universe is speaking.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Well,
somebody up
it's
there,
the 12th for me.
the cosmos, has decided that 13 needs to resonate throughout the universe at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, for some reason.
The mystery is why.
I don't know.
Well, at least
we're probably living in a simulation.
Well,
That's
the
what I'm
thing
going
we
with.
really need to be happy about is the fact that Taylor finally has an athletic man to do her right.
Well, yeah, except he's a big time vax pusher, full of all sorts of pharma chemicals.
I
so
was making
I
a
don't know.
sex joke, Mr. Cody.
His penis probably doesn't work, is what I'm saying.
Oh, maybe. Well,
yeah.
So
he's been injecting himself with too much stuff.
That's fair. Maybe Tyrone will help out.
Yeah, he's got teammates. They'll handle that for him.
Yeah,
They'll handle that business.
That's true.
I did. Is anybody surprised that the Chiefs won? Because I'm not at all.
No, they've been nothing but Chiefs the whole time.
Yeah,
you know.
That's pretty much been the entire NFL has just been the Chiefs, which is shocking to me because just a couple years ago they all lost their mind and went apoplectic fits about the Redskins, and yet for some reason the Chiefs can be the center of attention. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
it's weird, isn't it? That's so stupid. Change that name. Even the Indians said, "Change it back, please."
Yeah.
It's funny you talk about marketing like that because I remember back in 1984, the only thing on TV was the Chicago Bears and the Shuffle and the Fridge and everything was about the Bears. The Bears.
I remember that.
Yeah. And of course, I was living in New England, so the Patriots were my team, and they got absolutely blown out. Freaking Dent,
They
man,
did.
and linebacker, just absolute devastation. But
that's going to be the first Super Bowl memory I ever had. Actually, I remember the shuffle and all that.
Yeah. It was the marketing. There was no way the Bears were going to lose that game, right? It was impossible.
No, it was nuts. There was no way.
Months of marketing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and they even had what was it? Saturday Night Live, I think, had that little skit that was popping off. The Bears, right?
The Bears.
The Bears. Yeah.
My father recited that till the day he died. That skit. The Bears.
Yeah, it was funny. But
McMahon. You had McMahon. He was huge.
Jim McMahon. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
His name was Jim, I think. And he was kind of a
can't
dork,
remember
to
his
be honest
first name.
with you, but they tried so hard.
He was
to
a
market
dork.
him. Yeah, he was absolute dork. But he was a solid quarterback. But I mean, for the Patriots to get blown out like that was kind of ridiculous, though.
Nah. Yeah.
Yeah, marketing. Anyway, I gotta go. So, you got anything else to say, Mr. Miracle?
No, not really.
All right. How about you, Grimlock?
Have a good night, everyone.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And take us out of here, Thunder.
This is a real simple one. It's one I just wrote yesterday, Chester. It is one sentence. And it is one gentleman saying to another gentleman, "Understand, my boy, sometimes blessings hurt the most."
That is often true. Namaste. Later, everybody.